Hey everyone, per your requests, I'm starting Soul Land 5, The Rebirth of Tang San, chapters 741 through 760 of the previous episode. The Ancestral Court Elite competition reaches its grand finale, with Tang San and Mei Gongzi advancing to the doubles final and the final bracket of the individual competition. During the evaluation trials to become Kali City's lord, Mei Gongzi faces formidable opponents, including a direct descendant of the undying demon emperor. Tang San secretly aids her, helping her master the mysterious circles of heaven and channel the Azura sword's intent to crush her enemies. Their success is so striking that it draws the attention of the continent's most powerful emperors. The Crystal Demon Emperor sacrifices herself during a failed tribulation, leaving a vacuum of power that heightens the Ancestral Court's political volatility. After returning to Kali City, Tang San begins a secret migration of humanity to islands in the endless blue sea. However, he discovers a devastating truth. The Ancestral Court has raised the human settlement near Kali City to suppress their rising status. Enraged, Tang San confronts the White Tiger Demon Emperor, revealing his true strength and the horrifying reality of the massacre. If you're able to, please support me on PayPal to help me stay active. Thank you. Now let's get back to the story of Soul Land 5, The Rebirth of Tang San audio series. Chapter 761. In his hand, Tang San's spacetime lighthouse radiated spacetime energy, enveloping Tang San and Mei Gongzi and instantly teleporting Mei Gongzi behind him. His gaze locked onto the White Tiger Demon Emperor, and in a cold voice he said, "You should be thankful that it wasn't you who delivered that blow. Otherwise, I would have killed you right here and now, no matter what happened to me." When had the White Tiger Demon Emperor ever faced such a threat? Enraged, he thrust his right hand toward Tang San. His palm instantly expanded, gathering an extremely terrifying killing intent that converged into 7 beams, striking directly at Tang San. In the next instant, Tang San moved. His silhouette suddenly surged forward a meter. He did not teleport, but he was so fast that he left behind afterimages. The power of the golden armor transformation imprint merged instantly with the lion tiger transformation, and coruscant light burst forth from his fist. His fist collided directly with the tiger's palm, resulting in a massive boom. It appeared to be a single punch, but in the perception of the White Tiger Demon Emperor, it felt like 1,000 punches exploded all at once. The tiger's palm trembled and recoiled. Tang San took a step back, spitting out a mouthful of blood, but he only retreated by 1 step. A brilliant golden light shone on his forehead, and the shadow of the sea god's trident appeared. "Enough!" the White Tiger Demon Emperor roared. Tang San retracted his aura. The White Tiger Demon Emperor stared at him coldly. "Do you want to alarm all the emperors in the Ancestral Court?" Tang San's heart was ice cold at this moment. Tens of thousands of humans were still living in the human settlement. Tens of thousands. They had gathered near Kali City, believing they had found a place to survive because they trusted him and Mei Gongzi. Yet they were annihilated just like that, crushed like ants in the face of the emperors. Since coming to this world, he had witnessed too many atrocities committed by demons against humans. As time passed and he spent more time with Mei Gongzi, Tang San's heart became filled with the beauty of being with his beloved. He even began to feel less hatred toward demons. But today he had experienced a brutal awakening from this beautiful dream. As long as demons and nymphs remained the rulers of this plane, humans would never be able to rise. They were doomed to be mercilessly controlled and tormented. Therefore, even with the temperament of a millennia-old god king, even knowing he shouldn't reveal his true strength, he couldn't help but take action. At this moment his heart was filled with grief and anger. The White Tiger Demon Emperor stared intently at Tang San, and the more he looked, the more shocked he became. This little kid who had just crossed his divine tribulation could actually take one of my attacks? How is this possible? What kind of strength is this? Wait, multiple bloodline abilities. No way. The Celestial Fox Demon Emperor had mentioned before that the one undergoing the tribulation had multiple bloodline abilities, including 2 transcendent bloodlines. And this guy right here. Wasn't he exactly that? This meant that the one undergoing that ridiculous tribulation wasn't the Crystal Demon Emperor trying to extend her life, but this kid. And if that was the case, it perfectly explained why the tribulation had suddenly erupted during Mei Gongzi's last trial. He was clearly coordinating with her. But how could this be possible? The intensity of that tribulation was enough to shock even the emperors. They were well aware that none of them could face it alone. So how had he managed to do it? And if he could trigger such a tribulation, then what kind of being would he become in the future? Could he really become the Sea God or the Sea Emperor? And if that was the case, then how powerful was the Sea Emperor? For a moment, countless thoughts raced through the White Tiger Demon Emperor's mind. After his sudden outburst, Tang San gradually calmed down. Even though he had used the peacock transformation to harness spatial power, allowing him to unleash countless punches in an instant, with each punch infused with the power of the golden armor transformation and the lion tiger transformation, his cultivation was only so high. Facing an experienced emperor like the White Tiger Demon Emperor, there was no way he could be on par. The White Tiger Demon Emperor hadn't used his full strength. He had held back significantly. Otherwise, the aura here would have already leaked out. He had been able to steal a trace of the White Tiger Demon Emperor's divine consciousness to perform a time reversal because everything had happened too suddenly, and the White Tiger Demon Emperor was not on guard against him. But that meant nothing once an actual fight started. In terms of strength, there was still a huge gap between them. Even so, Tang San was confident that with his newly attained godhood, if he went all out and disregarded all consequences, he could still protect himself in front of the emperors without any problems. For a moment, both sides fell into a brief silence, their gazes locking onto each other. Although a fierce light flickered in the White Tiger Demon Emperor's eyes, he didn't explode with rage. "Have humans really come this far?" he murmured. Tang San replied in a deep voice, "We need to leave now. I hope you won't try to stop us." He had to go back and see for himself. He didn't know who had perished in this great catastrophe. His companions, the teachers and students of Redemption Academy, had they all? He didn't even dare to think about it right now. Since coming to this world, this was one of the rare moments when his emotions were out of control. Mei Gongzi's face was as pale as paper, and she was shivering. She too understood what had happened. The White Tiger Demon Emperor looked at Tang San with visible seriousness. "All logic tells me that I should kill you right now to nip the problem in the bud. Do you understand?" Tang San's gaze didn't waver. "You can try." The White Tiger Demon Emperor's gaze shifted to Mei Gongzi. "Are you leaving with him or staying here?" Mei Gongzi pressed her lips together without speaking, but without hesitation, she took hold of Tang San's hand. "Fine, get the hell out then. Both of you out." The White Tiger Demon Emperor suddenly roared in a fit of rage. Instantly, all the furniture in the room was reduced to powder by the sheer force of his roar. Tang San gave him a deep look, then pulled Mei Gongzi into his arms. Silver light surged, wrapping around Mei Gongzi's delicate body, and they teleported away. The violent airflow in the room persisted for a long time before gradually calming down. A complex light flickered in the White Tiger Demon Emperor's eyes, and faint black lines appeared and disappeared on his forehead, revealing his tumultuous emotions. He suddenly realized that he had made a significant misjudgment. He had firmly believed that his granddaughter possessed the most extraordinary talent he'd ever seen. Being able to defeat a great demon king of the immortal Flame Phoenix clan shortly after breaking through to godhood showed absolutely unprecedented talent. But when Tang San erupted right before him today, he realized he was wrong. Although he couldn't understand how Tang San had come to possess such strength, the facts were undeniable. The power Tang San displayed had completely exceeded his expectations and comprehension. A guy who had just broken through to godhood could actually withstand an emperor's attack, and even steal a trace of his divine consciousness. That white pagoda and the streak of gold on his forehead, which even made the White Tiger Demon Emperor feel uneasy, were undoubtedly extraordinary artifacts. He knew he was able to obliterate Tang San if not for those things, but, although he hated to admit it, he was not sure he could detain the young man against his will. What a bizarre situation this was. That was just someone who had recently broken through to the 10th Order, yet he made a 12th Order powerhouse like himself feel a bit helpless. It was simply unimaginable. What level would he reach in the future as he grew? A transcendent bloodline. Did that mean he could surpass the emperors and become an even more terrifying existence? Could he perhaps even transcend this world? His abilities were certainly related to the Crystal Demon Emperor, but he did not identify himself as a demon at all. If such an unparalleled powerhouse emerged among humans, the White Tiger Demon Emperor didn't dare to think further. He suddenly understood the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor's worries and unease. The Celestial Fox Demon Emperor had always believed that this concern stemmed from Mei Gongzi, so he didn't want her to pass her evaluation. But he was wrong. The real threat to the ancestral court was none other than this young man. Light flickered as Tang San and Mei Gongzi reappeared inside the relay array within the cave outside Black Dragon City. Tang San didn't continue teleporting with Mei Gongzi to Golden Valley. At this moment, his emotions were truly indescribable. During the entire tribulation and Mei Gongzi's evaluation, he had every detail perfectly calculated. Every part of the process was under his control, and he had even managed to cross the tribulation without using all of his trump cards, achieving all his goals without any real danger. But even he couldn't have anticipated that after his tribulation, he would enter such deep meditation for so long, giving the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor the chance to strike against the human settlement. Countless lives had likely been lost under their surprise attack. This was the attitude of demons toward humans. If they couldn't control them, they would destroy them. At that moment he even felt a sense of fear, not because of the demon emperors, but because he didn't dare to face what awaited him. He didn't know how many of his companions he would find dead when he returned. His master Wu Bingji Dubai, Guli Changzicheng, the students and teachers of Redemption Academy, and the people who had gathered in the human settlement, how many of them had been crushed under the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor's assault? As she stood beside Tang San, Mei Gongzi's eyes were also dull and lifeless. Her evaluation had been a resounding success, and she had officially become the city lord of Kali City. Tang San had crossed his tribulation, and was now so powerful that he could even stand against the emperors. Yet, the human settlement was gone. What was the cause of all this? Naturally, it was the fact that she had been too eager to establish that settlement. The fact that she had passed the evaluation had made the demon emperors believe she should further transition into a demon and sever ties with humanity. Even her own grandfather, the White Tiger Demon Emperor, felt the same, and supported the actions of the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor. If she hadn't inherited the position of the Peacock Demon Clan leader, and the City Lord of Kali City, so many humans wouldn't have come to seek refuge. They had come with so much hope, but the final result was doom. If they hadn't come, at least they would have still been alive, but now, the two of them stood speechless, the joy of their reunion having completely vanished in that moment. The air seemed to grow heavy. I'm so sorry, it's all my fault. Mei Gongzi finally lost control of her emotions, tears pouring down her face. Tang San quickly pulled her into his arms. It's not your fault, it's mine. I didn't think things through enough. I misjudged those emperors. I assumed that powerful beings would disdain to harm weak ones. I underestimated their cruelty, and I underestimated the wariness they feel toward us. Mei Gongzi collapsed into Tang San's arms, crying loudly. At that moment her emotions had completely broken down. While comforting Mei Gongzi, the seeds of hatred erupted fiercely in Tang San's heart. The ancestral court, what a vile place. And the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor. No, every emperor. They all see humans as nothing but ants that could be crushed at any moment. But worry not. Whatever you do to humans, you will suffer tenfold, 100-fold in the future. In the end he had shown mercy. He had only returned half the lotus seeds to the plain. Yet his mercy had only fueled the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor's cruelty. After a long while, Mei Gongzi's sobbing finally began to subside. Tang San, what should we do? Mei Gongzi asked softly. She truly didn't know what to do or how to face this. Tang San gripped her shoulders. By now he had calmed down. Little Mei, listen to me. Now is not the time for us to wallow in guilt. No amount of regret or remorse will change anything. There's no medicine for regret in this world. What's done is done, and all we can do now is face it. Whether we grieve or run away, it won't make a difference. So don't look back. What we need to do is protect those of our people who are still alive, help them grow stronger, and give them the power to truly stand against demons and nymphs. And when we are strong enough, then we must avenge our fallen comrades. When he spoke the final two words, Tang San's eyes glinted with a cold light, not hiding the intense killing intent radiating from him. Hearing his words, Mei Gongzi regained a little composure and nodded slightly, though she still silently wept. Tang San took a deep breath and said, "We'll have to separate for a bit. I should stay by your side, but right now I need to go back. No matter what the situation is over there, I have to go and face it. At least with me there, no more harm will come to them." "What about me?" Mei Gongzi asked, feeling somewhat lost. Tang San sighed. "I'll send you back in a bit. You must return to the White Tiger Demon Emperor. From his perspective, he didn't do anything wrong. He was protecting you. Now that he has witnessed my strength, you must reassure him. We can't let him turn against us because the one thing we lack right now is time. Only by growing stronger will we have the chance to stand against the ancestral court. Plus, you've worked hard to pass your evaluation and gain the position of City Lord. Whether we seek revenge or help humanity, we'll need that title. Doing well as City Lord is the bravest thing you can do for our fallen comrades. Do you understand?" Mei Gongzi looked at him through her teary eyes. I want to go back with you too." Tang San gently kissed her forehead and held her tightly. "I know, I understand. I know what you're feeling. But right now, you have to stay in the ancestral court for another 2 months. Once the 100 days are over, I'll take you back. If we leave now, and the White Tiger Demon Emperor becomes truly angry, the disaster we and our people will face will be incomparable to what already happened. What I fear most is seeing demons and nymphs launch a full-scale massacre of humanity. We absolutely cannot be the spark that ignites that." "Emichim." Mei Hongxi nodded tearfully. Tang San took a deep breath. "What you can do for our people is to cultivate and keep improving yourself. Make yourself stronger. Only when we both become emperors can we truly protect them. Do you understand?" Mei Gongzi nodded again. Tang San gently stroked her long hair, and only when he held her did his heart feel even a little comfort. "I'll send you back. You need to get your mindset right. First, you have to keep the White Tiger Demon Emperor steady." Silver light swirled, enveloping them. With the space-time lighthouse, long-distance teleportation was now effortless for Tang San. When the light flashed again, they had returned to the White Tiger Hotel. Yes, they hadn't teleported directly to the White Tiger Palace. That was on the White Tiger Sacred Mountain, and a direct teleport there would cause too much commotion. Also, for such a long-distance jump, the teleportation array in the White Tiger Hotel was much more convenient. In the familiar room, Tang San pulled Mei Gongzi into the bathroom, letting her wash her face. With the cool water wiping off the tear streaks on her face, Mei Gongzi's emotions slowly calmed down. Although her face was still pale, her heart had quieted significantly. "How are you? Did you get hurt just now?" Mei Gongzi asked softly. Tang San shook his head. "My healing ability is really strong now. The injuries weren't serious. I'll be fine soon." Thanks to his immaculate golden body, he didn't need to use the Nirvana rebirth of the immortal Flame Phoenix clan, unless things got really serious. The injuries caused by the White Tiger Demon Emperor had already healed. This was why Tang San dared to stand against the emperors. Mei Gongzi held his hand and said softly, "Promise me you'll take care of yourself. When you go back, don't get too worked up." Tang San nodded slowly, a trace of complexity flashing in his eyes. "Don't worry, I will. You've already done more than enough things that others couldn't. At the very least, we can be considered the strongest humans in history. Once we become emperors, we will surely be able to truly protect our people." Though the two of them comforted each other, both could still feel the deep sorrow and the barely contained anger in one another. "He's here," Tang San suddenly said in a low voice. Mei Gongzi's delicate body trembled, and she instinctively lowered her head, uncertain of how to face her grandfather. Light flickered, and a sharp aura swept through the room as the White Tiger Demon Emperor appeared like a gust of wind, his gaze instantly locking onto Tang San. Tang San kept his head lowered, only holding Mei Gongzi in his arms. The White Tiger Demon Emperor remained silent, staring at them intently. After a long moment, he coldly asked, "Have you made up your mind?" Since they had returned, it was clear they were unwilling to abandon everything here. Tang San slowly lifted his head, his gaze now calm. "Your Majesty, I have a question. Since the ancestral court believes that humans are so insignificant, why must they be restricted? Why can't humans be seen as just one of the demon races like any other?" Is it just because humans have little natural talent? The White Tiger Demon Emperor replied indifferently. I'll tell you what Celestial Fox said. He once told me that although humans are weak, they possess intelligence far beyond other races. While a race's natural talent is important, intelligence is even more so. With enough brains, you'll always find opportunities, just like how humans, despite lacking innate talent, manage to obtain the demonic god transformation. And humans' reproduction rate far surpasses both demons and nymphs. Such a race, if not limited, could pose a huge threat in the future. Your very existence proves this, doesn't it? You have the first transcendent bloodline I've ever seen, and two of them for that matter. The most logical thing for me to do now would be to kill you to prevent future trouble. The hatred you feel for Celestial Fox for killing your people, I believe you won't forget that. Of course, it's only natural. There's another theory that says humans are the essence of all living beings, possessing a unique ability to communicate with heaven and earth that other races lack and being favored by the heavens. It's just that on Phelan Planet, fortune has been gathered by the Celestial Fox clan, stripping humans of their potential for advancement and leading to the current situation. This was something Little May's grandmother told me. Until the day she died, she still believed herself to be human, never identifying as a demon despite having demon blood. That's another peculiar thing about humans. It seems you don't abandon your identity as humans just because of your weakness. Instead, you seem to take pride in it. That's something I can't quite understand. Tang San looked at the White Tiger Demon Emperor and said, Your wife was right. In my view, humans truly are the essence of all things. It's true that humans don't have any innate powerful talent on this plane, but we do have the ability to adopt any talent. I'm not going to say wishful things like, why can't all beings on Phelan Planet coexist peacefully? Anymore. I understand that this plane is a world where the strong prey on the weak. The strong will always prevail. I also understand why the Ancestral Court insists that Little May fully embrace her demon heritage in order to become an emperor in the future. Good. But now that you understand, what do you plan to do? Tang San shook his head. Right now I can't do anything. But that doesn't mean I won't be able to in the future. However, there is one thing I can tell you. The reason I was able to create a transcendent bloodline and ultimately gain the acknowledgement of this plane was that I made a promise to it. If I ever gain power beyond that of an emperor, I won't disturb the balance of Phelan Planet. In fact, I'll help maintain that balance. The White Tiger Demon Emperor asked, Are you telling me that in the future you won't act against demons and nymphs? Tang San shook his head again. That's not what I said. I said that I won't disrupt the balance of the planet. You said it yourself. Since hatred has been sowed, vengeance will have to be reaped. Are you really not afraid that I'll kill you right now? Having seen the potential of your transcendent bloodline, do you really think I'll just let you grow? This is the Ancestral Court. You won't be able to escape. Tang San shook his head a third time. No, you're wrong again. First, this might be the Ancestral Court, but if I am determined to leave, nothing here could stop me. Second, the most important thing to me in this world is Little May. As long as she's safe, I can at least give you some leeway. You also wouldn't harm me because of her, or you would have already stopped us from leaving before now. The White Tiger Demon Emperor said coldly, Do you realize that I truly want to act against you right now? If I go all out, the consequences are more than you can afford. You know I was able to destroy part of the Celestial Fox clan's fortune. I can destroy all of it if I want to. Do you believe me? The White Tiger Demon Emperor narrowed his eyes. At a time you still dare to threaten me? Tang San replied matter-of-factly. This is not a threat. I am just giving you a fair warning. The reason I didn't completely destroy the Celestial Fox clan's fortune is that I don't want the entire demon continent to fall into chaos. Otherwise, the outcome would have been very different. It's also because most of us humans still live on this continent, so guess what will happen if these people die? Your Majesty, if I had left with Little May, there would be no room for reconciliation between us in the future. That's why I brought her back. She will still be the Lord of Kali City, and I will continue to support her. But she will never be a demon. She will always be human, and so will I. Hearing his firm words, the White Tiger Demon Emperor's eyes flashed with killing intent. Leaving you two alive would only mean leaving enemies for the Ancestral Court and all demons and nymphs. Tang San smiled brightly. That is correct. And I need your support. In the future you will stand with us. If I'm not mistaken, when the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor moved against the human settlements, he likely asked you to act, didn't he? But in the end it was still him who made the move. Not because you couldn't do it, but because you didn't want Mei to hold a grudge against you or for Aunt Suqin to resent you. The fact that you love your family is the very reason I brought her back. Otherwise, you would have never seen her again. So yes, I'm certain you won't kill her. After all, she's blood of your blood. In fact, she's your only true bloodline heir. The White Tiger Demon Emperor's gaze grew even colder. Do you realize I want to kill you even more now? Whether it's you or that bastard Wang Qing. People with your level of intelligence shouldn't exist in this world. Please let me finish. Since you've discovered my transcendent bloodlines, it means you know our most important secret. Once this discussion is over, you will either stand with us or one of us will die today. So let me ask you, while we're talking about special bloodlines, where did your mutated bloodline come from? When you were born, how did the tiger race treat you? The White Tiger Demon Emperor hadn't expected such a question. His expression changed, and his tiger eyes narrowed as certain memories flashed through his mind. I know the Lion-Tiger clan, and I have a good relationship with them. They've never been accepted by the lion and tiger races because they are hybrids. You yourself are a mutant and you're not really part of any clan. You were probably seen as an outcast when you were born, right? Before you displayed extraordinary talent. Was your life easy? I don't think so. So do you truly believe you have kin in this world? I also believe that the tiger race found you many mates once you became strong. But even so, you have no powerful descendants. Moreover, the other white tigers are all weak, and they are very few in numbers to begin with. There's no real White Tiger clan. There's just the White Tiger Demon Emperor, and a handful of other unrelated white tigers. You treasure little Mei and Aunt Suqin so much because they are your only true kin, your only true legacy. In other words, they are your only family. So if I told you that in the future, I will take them away from this plane to a higher level plane where immortality is possible, and I can bring you with us, would you be willing to go? The White Tiger Demon Emperor was stunned by his words. What nonsense are you spouting? There's no such thing as immortality. A higher level plane is just a fantasy. Phelan Planet has existed for countless years, and many powerful beings have emerged. But who has ever touched a higher level? Do you think just because you have a transcendent bloodline you can do it? Breaking through the limits of a plane is easier said than done. Tang San shook his head and said, Facts speak louder than words. I will prove to you that what I'm saying is possible. As he spoke, light and shadow appeared behind him. The glowing halo from his previous face-off with the White Tiger Demon Emperor reappeared, with the Chaos Blue Silver Emperor at the center and 8 bloodline imprints surrounding it. At the same time, one of the imprints began to shine with a crystal glow, transforming into a figure in front of Tang San. The figure had long, glistening crystal hair and a semi-transparent body, as though it was sculpted from pure crystal. Mei Gongzi was now seeing crystalline for the first time. The girl appeared to be 12 or 13 years old and was extremely pretty, exuding an otherworldly aura. What is this? The White Tiger Demon Emperor instinctively grew wary, his sharp gaze fixed on Crystalline. Crystalline turned to glance at Tang San. You don't have to go this far for humanity. After all, you can't be considered fully human yourself, right? Tang San responded. No matter what, I am always human. It's precisely because I am human that I was able to reach that step in the first place. Crystalline sighed softly. All right, I'm already on your boat anyway, so I have no choice but to help you. Hey, little tiger, don't you recognize your Grandaunt Crystal? The pupils of the White Tiger Demon Emperor shrank instantly. Despite his immense power and supreme status, upon hearing the words Grandaunt Crystal, he instinctively took a step back, knocking over the tea table behind him. Crystalline frowned and tooted like a disappointed auntie. TSK, still so reckless. Back then I beat you for a whole month to fix this bad habit of yours. Yet here you are, still the same. Are you really? The White Tiger Demon Emperor's eyes were filled with disbelief, but in his heart, he had already accepted it. The title of Grandaunt was something he had only ever used when meeting her in private. There was absolutely no possible way other people would know something. What else? You think your grandaunt is that easy to kill? I simply abandoned my original body and was reborn alongside this kid. You should believe what he says. You're just as lonely as I am. And while you're not that old yet, you've seen my fate. Sooner or later, you'll face the issue of lifespan too. Come with us. The White Tiger Demon Emperor's eyes were filled with shock. Only now did he feel that he truly understood what was going on. Tang San's transcendent bloodlines and that terrifying tribulation. It was all brought about by Tang San and the Crystal Demon Emperor together. That made it easier for him to accept. Of course, only a being like the Crystal Demon Emperor could cause such frightening changes. She hadn't died. His grandaunt Crystal hadn't truly died. She had been reborn and seemed to have merged with Tang San's body. No wonder this kid had been able to withstand his attack earlier, even though he had just undergone his godly tribulation. The White Tiger Demon Emperor's mind was in turmoil for a moment. Tang San sighed softly. I didn't want to tell you this so soon, but I couldn't control my emotions because of recent events. Your Majesty, you are Little Mei's grandfather, so I'm willing to lay everything out for you. You don't need to give me an answer right away. Little Mei will stay with you for now, and I will return to Cali City to clean up. I'll come back for her later. During this time, I hope you can think things over. If it had only been Tang San's words, the White Tiger Demon Emperor would never have believed any talk of another plane or immortality. But with the appearance of the Crystal Demon Emperor, everything changed. Her status was extremely high in the hearts of all the emperors. Almost all the emperors had received favors from her, especially those of the Empyrean Dominion. When the White Tiger Demon Emperor first became an emperor, he did so by using killing intent, which often led to him losing control of his emotions. It was the Crystal Demon Emperor who beat him for a month straight, helping him stabilize his killing intent and making it controllable. This was the foundation of the heaven-crossing, earth-piercing White Tiger Demon Emperor. Thus, in his heart, he held immense gratitude toward her. This was also why, when the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor revealed that the Crystal Demon Emperor was the instigator of the tribulation, none of the emperors present spoke a word against her. Her influence was simply too immense. Crystalline glared at him and said, "What are you hesitating for? Do you think it's easy to get on this boat? You have no idea how much I sacrificed to get on board. Tang San is far stronger than you imagine. He's the most promising existence I've ever seen, known, or even heard of. As for how far his future will take him, you'll see. And if you decide you don't want to, at least don't stand in our way. I can tell you this for certain, if he decides to kill you, you'll die. Don't be fooled by the fact that he's only at the Demon King level. He can do it. Alright, I'm going back to sleep." After finishing, she transformed into a crystal light and merged back into the halo behind Tang San. In front of the White Tiger Demon Emperor and Mei Gongzi, she had at least refrained from calling him Dad, or that would have completely shattered the White Tiger Demon Emperor's worldview. The White Tiger Demon Emperor looked at Tang San completely differently from what the Crystal Demon Emperor had just said. It seemed that this tribulation and the ensuing events had all been the work of this human, not the Crystal Demon Emperor herself. She hadn't explicitly stated it, but her admiration for Tang San was evident to all. For a moment his mind was in turmoil. However, the killing intent he'd been directing at Tang San had dissipated entirely. Tang San turned to Mei Gongzi beside him and said, "You should stay here for now. Contact me if there's any danger, and I'll come immediately." Mei Gongzi nodded and squeezed his hand. If something really happens, please remember I'm still here." She understood the bond Tang San had with his companions, and they still didn't know how many people had died in the human settlements, or who had died. If any of his friends or mentors were among the dead, Tang San's emotions would surely be deeply affected. Tang San's pupils slightly contracted, and a flash of intense hatred flickered in his eyes. No matter who had died, no matter how many had perished, this deep-seated hatred was etched into his heart. In the future, he would make the demon and nymph clans, especially the Celestial Fox clan, pay 100 times over for what they had done. The White Tiger Demon Emperor suddenly said, "The death toll isn't as high as you think. I had already informed Mei's mother in advance, asking her to disperse the humans in the settlement quickly. I told her it was to help you pass your evaluation. I'm sure she managed to do that, although when I accompanied Celestial Fox that day, I still sensed humans there. I am not sure how many there were. Upon hearing these words, Tang San's eyes lit up, and his impression of the White Tiger Demon Emperor instantly improved. Mei Gongzi was also overjoyed. If most of the people had been evacuated, it was nonetheless a tragedy, but not as bad as it could have been. Grandfather, you. The White Tiger Demon Emperor said coldly, I never agreed with Celestial Fox's views. I never believed humans were a threat. And your little boyfriend is right. None of the partners that the tiger race found could give me good offspring, yet a human gave me a descendant like your mother. I think a lot better of humans than other emperors do at least. Tang San finally allowed a rare smile to appear on his face. You also did it for little Mei, so she wouldn't be in a difficult position, right? The White Tiger Demon Emperor replied gruffly, Think whatever you want. If you're going back, then hurry up and go see for yourself. Tang San took a deep breath, nodded to the White Tiger Demon Emperor and said, Your Majesty, I apologize for the earlier offense. I'll take my leave now. I'm entrusting little Mei to you. With the White Tiger Demon Emperor's explanation, his mood improved considerably. After saying goodbye to Mei Gongzi, he immediately stepped into the teleportation array, activating the space-time lighthouse and teleporting away. Watching the spot where Tang San had disappeared, the White Tiger Demon Emperor exhaled a deep breath before turning to Mei Gongzi. Where in the world did you meet this freak? Yes, now he could only describe Tang San as a freak. Even the Crystal Demon Emperor cooperated with him, and she was his revered grandaunt Crystal. It was truly unbelievable. Hearing the White Tiger Demon Emperor's question, Mei Gongzi froze for a moment. In her mind, the memory of the first time she had met Tang San suddenly resurfaced. Back then, he had been thin and small, nothing but a child who came to the milk tea shop to buy tea, and she'd noticed him staring directly at her. She vividly remembered the look in Tang San's eyes at the time. Now that she thought about it, despite his young age, his gaze had been so complex, filled with countless emotions. He had reincarnated just to find her, to rekindle the bond they had shared in their previous lives. Their love was stronger than the heavens. In her mind, the fragmented images from when the celestial plume acknowledged her, and when the tribulation was completed seemed to become a bit clearer, and with them, the emotions in her heart grew stronger. With a flicker of light, Tang San appeared inside a cave within Golden Valley. Rich life energy immediately enveloped him. As the golden tree continued to grow, the life energy it emitted was becoming even stronger. The overwhelming life force brought warmth and comfort, lifting Tang San's mood a little. With a sweep of his divine consciousness, he sensed all the life forms within Golden Valley. Red One, come here. The Crimson Fox girls were all present, although they occasionally visited Kali City to experience life there. When Tang San left with Mei Gongzi, they had all returned to the valley. Tang San had instructed them that if he didn't return within a year, they should seek out Zhang Haoshuan and follow his instructions. Tang San immediately sensed Red One's excitement. Within just a few breaths, figures rushed in from outside. Not just Red One, all the Crimson Fox girls had come. Master, you're finally back. I thought you abandoned us, Red One said as she led the other Crimson Fox girls, tears streaming down her face as she knelt before Tang San. What are you doing? Tang San waved his hand, and a gentle force quickly lifted the girls to their feet. Now that he had reached godhood, his foundation had been fully consolidated, and he was a completely different person from before. A sweep of his divine consciousness revealed everything about the Crimson Fox girls' conditions. The girls stood up, their eyes all red from crying. The last time Tang San left, he had set a 1-year deadline. At that time they had realized something big was happening, but Tang San hadn't explained much. Over the past month and a half, their wait had felt like an eternity. Everything they had was thanks to Tang San, so it was only natural that they were deeply attached to him. Now that he had returned, their worries were quelled, and they were overwhelmed with emotion. Tang San turned to Red One and said, Calm yourself first. I have something important to ask you. Yes, Master, Red One replied, wiping away her tears as she stepped forward to stand before Tang San. Tang San asked in a deep voice, What happened at the human settlement? What's the situation now? Red One hesitated for a moment, then slightly lowered her head, and a sorrowful tone creeped into her voice as she replied, Yes, something happened. We heard about it from the Lion-Tiger clan warriors when they returned to the valley. Master, please don't be too sad. Hearing this, Tang San's heart sank. Go ahead and tell me, I'm prepared. Red One said. About a month ago, word came to temporarily disperse the settlement. The exact reason wasn't given. Most people were sent away, and many moved to the Kali Mountains, where the mayor settled them. But some people refused to leave. After all the hard work to build a home, they didn't want to abandon it. Most of them were elderly. They said they had finally built a place of their own, and even if there was danger, someone needed to stay behind and guard their home. They were too old to move around again, and they chose to stay there. To live and die with the settlement. Hearing this, Tang San closed his eyes in pain. The White Tiger Demon Emperor had sent the message, but through unknown means, and it couldn't have been too explicit, or the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor would have noticed. The White Tiger likely only intended to save Su Qin. As for the other humans, they were not his concern. How many stayed behind? Tang San's voice trembled slightly. Red One took a deep breath and, choking back tears, said, in total, there were 4,762 people left behind. Tang San's fists clenched tightly instantly. 4,762 people. 4,762 lives erased as if they never existed. Celestial Fox, you will pay for this. At that moment, Tang San felt as though his heart was being torn apart. It was his underestimation of the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor's wariness of humans that had led to this tragedy. While the loss was far less than the tens of thousands he had feared, those were still 4,762 lives. According to Tang San's original plan, as long as he could break through to godhood and help Mei Gongzi pass her evaluation, they would have the confidence to stand against the ancestral court in the future. Along with humans steadily migrating overseas to establish settlements, they could finally secure their own living space. By then, the settlements on this side would no longer be necessary, and he would have the time to grow stronger. Yes, he had promised the planar ruler not to disrupt balance, but not disrupting balance didn't mean doing nothing. He aimed to create a cultivation system for humans, a true path for them to reach the heavens. Even though it would be a long and arduous process, requiring time and resources, it was only in this way that humanity could truly rise. It was only in this way that they would have a real chance to become the rulers of this plane in the future. Compared to the domineering nature of demons and nymphs, no matter the plane or planet, humans were always more tolerant. While not entirely peaceful, humans never enslaved other races as casually as demons and nymphs did. What he hadn't expected was that the injuries from his tribulation caused him to enter such deep meditation for so long, leaving the human settlement outside Kali City unprotected, which ultimately led to this tragedy. Over 4,000 lives. Red One and the other Crimson Fox girls all lowered their heads, and some of them couldn't help but cry. They had all visited the settlement before. Its creation was a group effort, and they themselves had contributed. Everyone there was human, and they all worked together to build houses, construct docks, and set up shops. Everything was so orderly. Redemption Academy had established schools for children and young people, allowing more people to become literate and learn various skills. Even the elders listened outside the schools. Almost every member of Redemption Academy had become a teacher in the settlement. Every day, people were busy, but though labor was as hard as it had always been, their faces were no longer numb. Genuine smiles appeared as they worked hard for their future. The settlement was filled with warmth, and there was rarely any conflict. Everything was in such perfect order. Everything was so beautiful. For many humans, the word home only gained real meaning after they arrived at the settlement. It was only here that they truly had a home. For the older humans, this was the reason they couldn't bear to leave. Even if they were to die, they wanted to die in their own home. And Tang San knew all too well that elders and the older generation for humans were simply people over 40 years old. In this world, it was rare for a human to live past 40. They only wanted a home of their own, to live without oppression, without enslavement, to live off the work of their own hands. They had no lofty ambitions, no desire for power, just a simple wish to survive in peace. But even such a simple request was too much for a mighty emperor who sought to destroy humanity. These were all common people. And yet the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor had still ruthlessly struck them down, without hesitation. This was undoubtedly the most brutal warning, telling humans not to harbor delusions just because Mei Gongzi had become Lord of Kali City. To demons, the idea of humans having their own home was nothing more than a pesky delusion that ought to be strangled in the cradle. Tang San did not cry. His gaze was terrifyingly calm. How are the arrangements for the aftermath? Red One lowered her head and choked out. What arrangements? Most people left and were relocated to the mountains. Some stayed, hoping to be taken out to sea, but everyone who stayed in the settlement is dead. There's nothing but dust there. Since the tragedy, the docks have been destroyed, and the boats along the shore have been wrecked. No one has been transported out to sea since then. What about Redemption Academy? Tang San asked again. They're fine. The academy is near Kali Academy, technically within the bounds of Kali City, so it wasn't affected. Kali City hasn't responded, and the Peacock Demon Clan hasn't done anything. They only ordered that humans in Kali City not to go out without permission. Tang San understood that this was the most protection the Peacock Demon Clan could offer humans. In the face of emperors, the Peacock Demon Clan, who had never liked humans to begin with, couldn't have intervened even if they had wanted to. This was the doing of two demon emperors. Although the final outcome was not as grim as Tang San had initially expected, more than 4,000 people still lost their lives. At this moment, Tang San felt no guilt in his heart, only boundless fury and hatred. The Celestial Fox Demon Emperor undoubtedly believed in the old saying that those of a different kin are bound to have nefarious thoughts. And as far as humanity was concerned, wasn't the feeling mutual? Since reuniting with Mei Gongzi, Tang San had been reminding himself to minimize his impact on this plane. After all, as an outsider and a former God King, he understood all too well that maintaining a plane's balance and not disrupting its natural evolution was crucial. Thus, according to his plan, he would support Mei Gongzi in becoming Lord of Kali City, using it as a haven for humans. Coupled with overseas migration, he would slowly establish a human nation, unlock humanity's innate abilities, and help them create their own cultivation system. Over time, humans would develop the ability to protect themselves and gradually grow. In the future, they could become one of the leading powers of this world. In turn, Tang San would protect humanity until the time came for him to break through to God King once again. Then, he would leave this world with Mei Gongzi and return to his own plane. As for this plane, he had many ways to help it grow in the future, and fulfill his promise to the planar ruler. He had a solid plan in mind, but everything had been ruined, destroyed by the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor's cruel slaughter. Tang San's face was calm, but his fury burned hotter than ever before. You will be avenged. All of you who died here for no reason will be avenged 100 times over. As for you, Celestial Fox, the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor thought he was merely exterminating some pests for the sake of warning the other pests. He had no idea of the price he was bound to pay in the future for his actions. Stay here, I need to head over to Redemption Academy, Tang San said. Silver light flickered beneath his feet. Golden Valley wasn't far from Redemption Academy, and he teleported there in an instant. Tang San was very familiar with the coordinates of Redemption Academy. When he reappeared, he was outside the outer wall of Kali Academy. He chose this spot to avoid being noticed. Standing outside the wall at the back of Kali City, feeling the familiar presence of the academy, Tang San's emotions gradually calmed down. He raised his head and looked toward the mountains behind. Behind Kali Academy lay Academy Village, where many humans lived, serving the academy for years. Redemption Academy was higher up in the mountains, and it was the place where Tang San had found his first stable home, a place where he could grow. He hadn't returned here in a long time. Coming back now, his heart was filled with a mixture of pain and complex emotions. But as he looked up at Academy Village, he was slightly taken aback. Academy Village was clearly much more bustling than before. From his position at Kali Academy, the sounds of activity from the village were unmistakable, even faintly reaching him. The village had grown significantly, extending deeper into the Kali Mountains. Humans, everyone here was human. Seeing this scene, Tang San's previously sorrowful and downcast mood lifted a bit. There were still so many of his fellow humans here, at least they were still alive. Without pausing, Tang San quickened his pace, heading up the mountain and into the village. Perhaps because he was human, no one stopped him or asked any questions as he entered the village. They simply allowed him to walk in. The village was bustling with activity, and everyone seemed busy. The aroma of food filled the air, signaling it was time for dinner. As he walked through the village, Tang San headed toward Redemption Academy, releasing his divine consciousness to search for familiar presences. Soon, he sensed something, and his eyes lit up slightly as he quickened his pace. Tang San spotted a familiar figure on the road leading to the Redemption Academy at the edge of Academy Village. Zhang Haoshuan was standing there, holding a blueprint, explaining something to two others. Seeing him, Tang San felt his heart settle, and he quickly walked over. A bit more to the back. We have to make sure that new houses are hidden beneath the canopy, so they can't be seen from above. Once we're done, I'll have some of the students who can fly take a look from the air. Yeah, cover that rooftop with shrubs for extra camouflage. Safety is the priority. Understood. Zhang Haoshuan was explaining something to the people beside him as Tang San approached, glancing at the blueprint in his hand. The blueprint depicted wooden houses. While the structure of the houses seemed simple, they were built around large trees. From what Zhang Haoshuan had just said, Tang San quickly grasped his intent. "Master," Tang San called softly. "HM? What's wrong?" Zhang Haoshuan responded reflexively, but he suddenly stopped. The students at Redemption Academy usually called him mayor or dean, but rarely teacher and never master. He instinctively turned his head, and when he saw Tang San standing beside him, his eyes slightly red, his whole body trembled. The blueprint slipped from his fingers, but Tang San quickly caught it. "Why, you're back," Zhang Haoshuan said in a trembling voice. Tang San nodded gently. "Yes, I'm back." In an instant, the head of Redemption Academy, the mayor of Academy Village, and one of the top leaders of the Redemption Society was in tears. He no longer cared that there were others around. He opened his arms and gave Tang San a big hug. Before coming to see him, Tang San had been nervous. Although Red One had told him that the people from Redemption Academy were likely safe, he still worried that something might have happened to his master or his companions. He also didn't know how to face them, carrying the guilt of over 4,000 fallen comrades. He had wondered how his teacher would react, but instead, he was met with a heavy, warm embrace. "Master," Tang San's voice was choked with emotion. Since coming to this world, this was the first time he had been unable to control his feelings, except when he reunited with Mei Gongzi. Zhang Haoshuan released the hug, took the blueprint from Tang San's hand, and handed it to the people beside him. "Go ahead and carry this out. Little Tang, come with me," he said, giving Tang San a pat before quickly heading toward the back mountain where Redemption Academy was located. Tang San followed Zhang Haoshuan, the two walking one after the other up the mountain. Walking behind, Tang San heard Zhang Haoshuan muttering, "Thank goodness you're alive. Thank goodness. This is truly wonderful." His words stirred Tang San's emotions even more, making it hard for him to contain himself. His master didn't blame him. He was simply overjoyed at his return. It was a short distance from the back of the village to Redemption Academy. The two quickly reached the academy. Compared to the lively and bustling Academy Village, Redemption Academy was eerily quiet, with not a single person in sight. Zhang Haoshuan led Tang San swiftly through the compound, closed the gates behind them, and brought him into his personal quarters. His divine consciousness surged, sealing the area from outside disturbances. Only then did he turn around, his gaze intense as he looked at Tang San. Tang San could feel his teacher's divine consciousness scanning him, sensing the changes in him. You succeeded in your tribulation?" Zhang Haoshuan's divine consciousness quickly noticed something different about Tang San. He could no longer gauge Tang San's cultivation level, but when his divine consciousness swept over Tang San, he felt a powerful sense of suppression. There was no doubt the young man before him was now stronger than he was. "Yes, I did." Tang San nodded. Zhang Haoshuan let out a long sigh of relief. "That's wonderful, truly wonderful. We all thought you might have." Yes, both Tang San and Mei Gongzi had disappeared at the same time. There had been some news about Mei Gongzi. She had succeeded in her evaluation but needed to stay in the ancestral court for further study and wouldn't return for 100 days. On the other hand, There had been no word about Tang San, only rumors of a massive upheaval in the ancestral court. The terrifying tribulation that had alarmed 15 emperors couldn't be hidden. The Etherhorn Merchant Association in Cali City had immediately spread the news. We thought you had sacrificed yourself to help Mei Gongzi. I never imagined that you actually succeeded in your tribulation, Zhang Haoshuan said excitedly. While Mei Gongzi's success was incredibly important to Zhang Haoshuan, Tang San was even more crucial to him. In Tang San he saw the hope for salvation. He was not just a helper, but a true savior. Whether it was Tang San's cultivation or the overseas migration of humans, both had brought genuine hope for humanity's future. I succeeded. Master, I've heard about what happened here. It's my fault for not thinking it through and not returning in time, and because of that, Tang San trailed off filled with guilt. But Zhang Haoshuan slowly shook his head. Though his eyes were filled with sorrow, they had an unmistakable determination. That was intentional, Zhang Haoshuan said. His words echoed like a thunderclap in Tang San's ears. Intentional. Tang San's voice rose and he looked at Zhang Haoshuan in disbelief. Almost 5,000 lives lost. Intentionally? Zhang Haoshuan's body trembled slightly as he closed his eyes in pain. Yes, it was deliberate. You know, our settlement is governed by a temporary council. All decisions are made collectively, and the Redemption Society only provides guidance. When we received the news, we knew the Ancestral Court was planning to act against us. We immediately accelerated the overseas migration. But during the discussion, everyone realized one thing. What would happen if we all fled? What would the emperors do when they arrived and saw an empty settlement? Tang San clenched his fists tightly, already understanding where Zhang Haoshuan was getting. Those 4,762 people had willingly chosen to die. What had they realized? Obviously, if the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor arrived and found no trace of humans, he was going to search the area around Cali City. How many people would he have found? His divine consciousness would have left no place to hide. Humans were far too weak in the face of such an emperor. How many more would have died at his hands? No one knew. So, after much discussion, the settlement decided to sacrifice a portion of its people to save the majority. Knowing full well they would be destroyed, close to 5,000 people stayed behind. Tears streamed down Zhang Haoshuan's face. No one was forced to do it. They all stayed of their own free will. The elderly, the weak, and the sick. They sacrificed their lives to give the others a chance to live on. Tang San stood there in silence for a long time. The Celestial Fox Demon Emperor wasn't dead set on obliterating humanity. His actions were merely a warning that humans could not gather together, that they were not allowed to rise. That was why he had destroyed the entire settlement. These thousands of lives had been enough for him to consider the job done. He had no idea that these humans had chosen to die. Knowing they would be crushed, they still decided to stay behind, unflinchingly accepting their fate. The sacrifice of those left the survivors with a stronger sense of unity, and an even more profound, unforgettable hatred. What the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor had intended was to shatter the hearts of humanity. Had he succeeded? In part. Some hearts were indeed broken. Yet he had also ensured that he would never fully succeed. The hearts that hadn't shattered now would never yield to him. For so many years we humans have struggled just to survive. We've lived as slaves and servants, stuck in a cramped space in horrible living conditions. Even though I joined the Redemption Society long ago and have my own demonic god transformation, I never truly believed that we humans had a chance to be saved. Compared to demons and nymphs, we are far too insignificant. It wasn't until I met you, until I witnessed the changes in you, that I began to feel hope. Watching you and your companions grow stronger, seeing you move forward step by step, that's when I truly saw hope. Do you know? When those 5,000 rebels, those 5,000 heroes chose to sacrifice themselves, I stayed strong. But when I thought you might have died helping Mei Gongzi, I almost gave in to despair. These past days I've been gritting my teeth, holding on so I wouldn't collapse. If I fell, then everything we've worked for would have been for nothing. Tang San, don't blame yourself. Blaming yourself serves no purpose. You haven't done anything wrong. What you've contributed to humanity is already immense. What humanity needs from you in the future is not repentance, but contributions. You must keep fighting for humanity, You must help us find a place to survive. So you have to stay strong. Now that you've become a god, we're all hoping that one day you'll become humanity's first emperor. Whether it's you or Mei Gongzi, as long as one of you becomes an emperor, then humanity will finally have a foundation. Hearing Zhang Haoshuan's words, Tang San felt a surge of complex emotions. He slowly nodded. Master, don't worry. I already have a plan. For the rise of humanity, I'll make sure everyone has their own strength to rely on. It may take a long time for humanity to truly grow strong, but when every human becomes stronger, our entire race will finally stand tall in this world. Our fallen comrades won't have died in vain. Soon, I will make the ancestral court pay for their blood with blood. You mustn't act rashly. Revenge isn't the most important thing. What's most important is staying alive. Do you understand what I'm saying? Don't worry, I will think it through carefully. When I decide to act against the ancestral court, I will make sure they won't have any chance to strike back. And it won't be now, at least not until I am truly strong enough. I'm glad to hear that. And while we're at it, when you talk about giving humanity its own strength to rely on, what exactly do you mean? Master, why don't you sit down and rest for a bit? I have some explanations to give you. All right. Zhang Haoshuan walked over to a chair and sat down. Lately, his nerves had been stretched to their limit. After hearing the news of Tang San's supposed death, he had been forcing himself to hold back his grief while still overseeing everything. Kali City had been lenient toward them, thanks to Mei Gongzi's success. The Peacock Demon Clan turned a blind eye to human activities, but the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor's warning had struck fear into the demon clans within Kali City. Even the Peacock Demon Clan dared not assist humanity any further. Tang San sat beside Zhang Haoshuan and began channeling his rich internal energy into him, helping him regulate the flow of his bloodline power and infusing him with vitality. Zhang Haoshuan felt Tang San's energy flow into him like a massive river, endless yet incredibly gentle. His entire body was enveloped in warmth, and his exhaustion vanished in an instant. Don't overexert yourself. I'm fine now. Seeing you return has made everything all right for me, Zhang Haoshuan said with a smile. While continuing to regulate his teacher's energy flow, Tang San said, Master, I have reached the 10th order. The hardest part is behind me. Many things that were once impossible can now be done. I will protect humanity from now on, and what happened before will never happen again. I sure hope so. Do tell me about that plan you mentioned earlier. Are you thinking of teaching your mysterious heaven technique to others after all? Zhang Haoshuan asked. Tang San shook his head and said, No. You've tested it yourself. The mysterious heaven technique isn't suitable for everyone, and even for those who can use it, it doesn't do much. For most people, it only serves to regulate their bodies. It can't grant them bloodline power or make them stronger. At best, it's useful for improving health. 1. Tang San himself wasn't sure why this was happening, but the fact of the matter was that only he could use the mysterious heaven technique to absorb bloodline power. When others used it, it had no such effect, it merely helped improve their physique somewhat. His master had confirmed this through experiments on humans without demonic god transformations. Otherwise, he wouldn't have hesitated to share Tang Sek's ultimate techniques with the humans of this world. Tang San had analyzed the situation and concluded that it was likely due to interference from the planar ruler. If humans could absorb the bloodline power of demons or nymphs as easily as he could and strengthen themselves through it, the world would be dominated by humans within a few years. Of course, another possibility was that, before humanity could fully develop, demons and nymphs would unite against the threat and truly exterminate every single human. So what do we do? Zhang Haoshuan asked. Tang San replied, Although other people can't use the mysterious heaven technique the way I can, the spiritual energy of heaven and earth is extremely abundant on Phelan planet, and there's more than one way to skin a cat. The demonic god transformation is just one way to cultivate, and I think it can and should continue since it's a good way to grant people power. Besides that, I have 2 ideas that could allow humans to cultivate without relying on bloodline abilities. Actually, I would like to select a few people here, as well as some among the overseas immigrants, to test these methods. If the experiments are successful, we can promote them on a larger scale. Tang San explained. 1 is elemental control. As you well know, there are plenty of elemental energies in the world. water, fire, earth, wind, light, darkness, space, time, and more. There are also rare or mutated elements like lightning and ice. Demons and nymphs rely on their bloodline power to control these elements, but that's actually not optimal. True control over the elements is a matter of spiritual power. While the mysterious heaven technique is difficult for others to cultivate, my purple demon eyes can be taught to practically anyone, which means that anyone can cultivate some measure of spiritual power. I want to enhance the elemental perception of those with good talent and see if they can control the elements. The second method still needs more testing, and I'm unsure if it will succeed. But this is the direction I'll be researching next. I believe it has some potential. If it works, we'll have two approaches to use along with the demonic god transformation. That will give the human race 3 different cultivation paths. Hearing Tang San's explanation, Zhang Haoshuan's eyes lit up, and he nodded repeatedly. That's fantastic. You have my full support. But after what's happened, we can't let demons and nymphs find out about this. So, if you conduct experiments, do it on the islands overseas. That way, whether it succeeds or not, nothing will be leaked. 1. The raw state that Tang San did the experiments himself, but in it stated that Zhang Haoshuan is the one who performed them. This is more consistent with the narrative, so we are keeping that. Tang San nodded. After what had happened this time, he would be even more cautious moving forward. The 2 most important things for him to focus on next were finding a cultivation path for humanity and figuring out how to take revenge on demons and nymphs. Demons and nymphs still had 15 emperors, and their overall strength was formidable. And that was not even taking into account the many great demon kings and demon kings. Under this pressure, even if humans could develop their own cultivation abilities, their inherent physical weakness made it extremely difficult to compete with demons and nymphs. There was also the looming risk of being wiped out before they could achieve anything. Thus, on one hand, he needed to strengthen humanity, and on the other, he needed to find ways to weaken the demons and nymphs. Zhang Haoshuan said, I'll keep an eye on things in Kali City. Right now, it's not advisable to attract more humans here. Overseas, our total number of migrants has reached nearly 400,000, which exceeds our previous expectations. Although many ships were destroyed, most of the larger ships are still on Crescent Island, since we sent them there in advance. We need your presence there to stabilize things. While we've hidden the news of your disappearance, your prolonged absence might make the sea clans uneasy. Our people overseas still need strong support from them. Tang San nodded. Yes, I'm planning to cultivate overseas for a while, but that will have to wait until Mei Gongzi completes her study period and returns. Since things here are stable, I'll head back to the ancestral court to stay with her until she's ready to come back. In the meantime, I'll make some preparations and continue improving my cultivation. Good. Her safety is crucial as well. But after you return, you two shouldn't assist humans too much in the open, Zhang Haoshuan advised him. Tang San nodded again. The ancestral court's wariness of humanity exceeded his initial expectations. Even though he had reached godhood, there was still a considerable gap between his current power and what was needed to protect all of humanity. There was so much to do. Tang San withdrew his hand from Zhang Haoshuan's back. After his treatment, Zhang Haoshuan's energy level had significantly improved, and being a god himself, his recovery abilities were nothing to scoff at. Are you going to head overseas first before returning? I'll go with you. I'll stay there to help you select some children without demonic god transformations but with good talent. Lately, your companions have been teaching basic knowledge there. They should have some good recommendations. Tang San agreed. A trip overseas was necessary, mainly to stabilize the situation with the sea beasts in the endless blue sea. Tang San had been gone for quite some time, and if the sea clans felt that he was unable to pay attention to them, the stronger ones might start to get ideas. They had begrudgingly cooperated with him because of his sea god power, but they weren't truly loyal. How are we getting there? Can you teleport us? Zhang Haoshuan asked. No problem. We'll teleport directly. Do you need to leave any instructions? Wait here. I'll make some arrangements and then we can leave. Zhang Haoshuan had been in charge of affairs here, so he had quite a few things to take care of before leaving for an extended period. Zhang Haoshuan left, while Tang San remained in the room. After talking with his master, Tang San's emotions had finally settled. The most difficult step was behind him. Now, the challenge was figuring out how to compete with the ancestral court. Strength was still key, and without a looming tribulation placing a glass ceiling on his evolution, it was time for him to focus on rapidly improving his power. Only with real strength could he stand on equal footing with the emperors and truly have the right to speak up. It took Zhang Haoshuan an hour to return. He had handed over the local affairs to Guanlongjiang and shared the good news of Tang San's return, which would certainly be a morale booster for Redemption Academy. "Are we teleporting from here?" Zhang Haoshuan asked, watching as Tang San activated the space-time lighthouse and sensing the spatial energy forming. Tang San smiled. "Yep, right here is fine." As he spoke, silver light surged from the space-time lighthouse, enveloping them instantly. Zhang Haoshuan felt everything around him slow down, and his vision became a swirl of colors. Beyond the slow motion, countless streaks of multicolored light flashed by. When he regained his senses, he could already smell the salty tang of the sea. "We're here." Zhang Haoshuan stared at the endless sea before him and felt the soft sand beneath his feet. He was momentarily stunned. The teleportation had been far too easy. Even though he knew Tang San's strength had to be leagues above his previous self after reaching godhood, seeing him perform such long-distance teleportation with the ease of munching a carrot was still deeply shocking. Tang San smiled faintly, gazing toward the endless blue sea as his divine consciousness expanded outward, first covering Crescent Island. Compared to his last visit, Crescent Island was even more prosperous now. This was the first island settled by human immigrants and had been under construction the longest. The flatlands of the island were now dotted with wooden and stone buildings, and it wasn't just temporary quarters, there were already 3 small towns. The island's inner harbor was full of docked ships, the transport vessels Zhang Haoshuan had mentioned earlier. Crescent Island now had over 200,000 people, and compared to the hustle and bustle during the initial construction stage, things seemed much more relaxed. Tang San quickly located some familiar presences. Wu Bingji was teaching a group of over 100 children in an open space. On the blackboard next to him, large characters were written. He was working on basic education. Cheng Ziqing was with him, helping with the teaching. Tang San didn't sense the presence of Dubai or Guli, meaning they weren't on Crescent Island and had gone to other islands. Zhang Haoshuan, sensing Tang San's divine consciousness expanding, smiled and said, "The migration has been quite successful. Humanity has endured all kinds of hardships, so we adapt quickly. Plus, we have the support of the sea clans. We've already had a harvest, and with the seafood from the ocean, self-sufficiency isn't a problem. The sea beasts even trade with us for some of the crops. But due to what happened recently, we can't transport goods for the time being. Yes, we'll resume transporting supplies once I return from the ancestral court with Mei Gongzi. But from now on, it'll have to be done in secret as much as possible. We'll build a hidden port farther from Kali City," Tang San replied. Zhang Haoshuan sighed softly and said, "Take it slow. We've endured countless hardships over the years. Now that we have some hope, it's best to proceed cautiously." Tang San understood his master's feelings and didn't press further. "Master, I'll go greet the sea beasts," Tang San said as he began to rise into the air, heading toward the sea. His divine consciousness shifted from Crescent Island to the endless blue sea. Tang San didn't hold back his divine consciousness, letting it expand unrestrained over the ocean. A golden trident rune appeared on his forehead, and his bloodline aura manifested behind him. Zhang Haoshuan stood on the shore, staring in shock. The moment Tang San ascended into the sky and released his aura, it felt to Zhang Haoshuan like a blazing sun had risen beside him. The intense surge of energy seemed to distort the very sky, and even as a god himself, and not a weak one at that, Zhang Haoshuan felt an overwhelming sense of pressure. Is this the power of a fresh demon king? No way. The last time Zhang Haoshuan felt such intense suppression was when the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor and White Tiger Demon Emperor appeared. When the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor had used his divine consciousness to pressure the human settlement, he had felt suffocated. And now he sensed a similar power from Tang San. Tang San's consciousness expanded relentlessly, not only toward the horizon but also deep into the sea. In the depths of the sea, countless creatures were enveloped by his divine consciousness, all turning their attention toward the surface. In that instant, the entire sea became eerily calm. Tang San could feel the vast surge of faith power rising from beneath the surface, rushing toward him under the influence of his divine consciousness. He had felt this sensation before, but back then, his cultivation had reached its limit, and he hadn't dared to absorb more. But now things were different. He had reached godhood and stepped onto the path to ascension. The aura of the sea god burst forth, and he absorbed the power of faith without restraint, drawing it into himself. At the center of the light wheel behind him, the chaos blue-silver emperor unleashed a powerful aura, its yin-yang energy establishing a feedback loop between Tang San's divine consciousness and the faith energy coming from the endless blue sea. Immediately, the sea became even clearer, and all the marine life within the range of Tang San's divine consciousness began to grow rapidly. Even more astonishingly, the creatures seemed to gain a heightened awareness, as if their spiritual intelligence was being awakened. This was the sea god's gift to them, a spark of wisdom. As Tang San absorbed the immense power of faith, his body began to radiate a brilliant golden light. The sun was setting, casting a dim orange glow across the horizon, yet a new sun seemed to rise over the sea, emanating from him. A deep, resonant hum echoed around Tang San like a divine chant. He could clearly feel his aura rising steadily, especially his divine consciousness. Nourished by the power of faith, his sea of consciousness was rapidly filling up, then expanding to accommodate even more. The endless blue sea, grand and limitless, was now responding to his call, drawing even more sea creatures toward him. They received his blessings, and in return offered their faith. There was no place more suitable for the sea god's cultivation than the sea. This was Tang San's true domain. He now felt that even if an emperor arrived, he could hold his own against them here. On the sea's surface, massive figures began to emerge, most belonging to the sea walrus clan. They lived in this region, and as soon as they sensed the powerful sea god aura, they rushed over without hesitation. The creatures that surfaced were all bathed in a golden glow as they raised their heads to gaze at Tang San in the sky, their eyes filled with reverence. The sea walrus elder had arrived as well, being the first to rush over upon sensing Tang San's aura. He's reached godhood. That was the sea walrus elder's first thought. But as a 10th order being itself, it was still deeply shaken. They were both at the 10th order, so why was Tang San so powerful? The intensity of his energy, the divine consciousness that made all sea clans feel warmth and protection. This was the true sea god. In its heart there was no longer any doubt, only sincere reverence and faith. Tang San sensed the sea walrus elder's arrival and glanced down at it. In the next moment, his voice rang out far and wide. I, Tang San, from this day forth, will protect the seas for as long as I live. Every corner of the endless blue sea will be under my protection. May the boundless sea be forever open, and may its waters be pure and free from the sea plague. As he spoke, Tang San slowly raised his right hand. A brilliant golden light shot from his forehead, and the golden sea god's trident appeared in his right hand. The moment he raised the enormous trident above his head, golden light erupted from him. The dazzling golden light, like a pillar connecting heaven and earth, descended with divine majesty into the endless blue sea. In an instant, the surrounding sea turned completely golden, and all the marine creatures within the waters were bathed in this golden hue. An overwhelming and vast force of faith surged toward Tang San, and his divine consciousness, bolstered by this faith, expanded rapidly, stretching out into the distant reaches of the endless blue sea. On Phelan Planet, beings who surpassed the 9th order were considered gods. Tang San had now reached that level, but he was fundamentally different from any other person at the same level in this plane. The key difference was that, while others were only known as gods, because they transcended normal beings in body and spirit, he was a true deity with a divine seat in a divine realm. Even though he had been reincarnated into this world, he had brought his divine consciousness with him, and his divine seat still belonged to him. When he broke through to godhood, even though he was yet to regain his former god-king strength, he was able to once more take up his divine seat. At this moment he was the real sea god. This was also why the plane had always resisted him. As an outsider deity, he stood above all beings of this world. Essentially, he was the descent of a superior entity from a superior realm, and such a presence was not easily accepted by the plane. Before he broke through to the 10th order, Tang San couldn't fully merge with his divine seat and only had a small amount of divine consciousness, and it was a consumable thing at that. But during his breakthrough as the tribulation baptized him, his spiritual power transformed into divine consciousness, allowing his divine seat to return to him truly. Thus, at this very moment, as Tang San arrived above the endless blue sea and unleashed his divine consciousness, what he released was the true aura of the sea god. A deity's power lay in their dominion, and the dominion of the sea god was naturally the sea. Thus, his first decree as the sea god, or rather, his first blessing upon the endless blue sea, was a divine command. From this moment onward, all sea plagues would vanish under his protection. The endless blue sea would no longer suffer from any taint. His word was law, and as long as he remained the sea god, this law would persist. Under this decree, all the sea beasts within the endless blue sea would begin to sense the presence of their sea god. The banishment of the sea plague would undoubtedly deepen their faith in him. This faith was almost infinite. Even a small portion would play a significant role in restoring Tang San's cultivation. This was actually the main reason Tang San had come here this time. He needed to fully establish his position as the sea god and transform the endless blue sea into his stronghold. This would become the foundation of his future confrontation with the ancestral court. Even if he became an emperor, the power of the plane would limit him to the peak of the 12th order. Tang San had promised the planar ruler that the day he restored his god-king status would also be the day he left this world. Meanwhile, the demon and nymph emperors were also 12th order beings. Even if they were not as powerful as Tang San individually, together they would outmatch him. Therefore, Tang San needed to leverage every advantage he had and establish his own domain first. More and more sea creatures emerged from beneath the waves, each sensing Tang San's protection over the endless blue sea, and the misfortune diminishing by the minute. Every sea creature felt genuine excitement and joy, and from that joy their faith in him was born. Feeling the surge of faith and sensing his growing connection with the endless blue sea, a faint smile appeared on Tang San's lips. This was now his domain. He was actually bestowing fortune upon the endless blue sea, fortune that came from the ancestral court. When the 9 lotus seeds of fortune had scattered, most of the fortune had been returned to the plain, but Tang San had absorbed some during the tribulation. Combined with the fortune of the heavenly bloom, it allowed Tang San's discerning eye of heaven to produce a 7-tailed celestial fox projection, which in turn allowed him to accumulate a vast amount of fortune. The scattered fortune of the plain had already partially flowed into the sea, and with the additional fortune he had now bestowed, the future of the endless blue sea would improve significantly. The more powerful the sea beasts, the more keenly they sensed it, as if an invisible shackle constricting them was being unlocked. They couldn't quite pinpoint what it was, but everything just felt better. Tang San hovered in the air for a full hour before finally returning to Crescent Island. Even though he was now suppressing his aura, a faint golden radiance still surrounded him, a byproduct of the vast amount of faith energy. Watching his disciple, Zhang Haoshuan couldn't help but swallow hard. He was starting to doubt whether he himself was really a god. His pupil looked a lot more the part. Tang San smiled and said, "Master, you can rest easy now. Soon the entire endless blue sea will speak my name. Every marine creature, no matter how remote, will know that the sea has its own faith. Under my protection they will be safe, and thanks to them so will humanity. They will give their full support to us." Zhang Haoshuan took a deep breath. Things were developing beyond his wildest dreams. "This is amazing. What's the story behind you being the sea god?" Tang San chuckled. "I've always been the sea god. Let's just say I inherited the sea god's legacy by a twist of fate." Zhang Haoshuan gave a wry smile. "You've had far too many strokes of luck. Hee. Anyway, now that things are stable here, I'll need you to select some promising young talents. When I return, we'll try to have them cultivate using the methods I told you about. But for now, I must hurry back to the ancestral court. I can't rest easy while she's there alone." Zhang Haoshuan nodded. "Go ahead. The sooner you go, the sooner you'll be back. Honestly, with your return, I feel like I've regained my backbone." Tang San smiled. "Master, you're the real backbone of our group." Zhang Haoshuan smiled wryly. "Give me a break. I've barely taught you anything. You're one of those born with knowledge types." Tang San replied. A master for a day is like a father for life. No matter what, you will always be my master. After saying goodbye to Zhang Haoshuan, Tang San didn't linger or rest. He directly teleported back to Golden Valley. He did not rush to the ancestral court, however. Rather, he spent some time cultivating first. The faith energy surrounding him was too potent, and if he didn't process it first, it would be too conspicuous once he arrived at the ancestral court. Each emperor in the ancestral court absorbed faith energy, most of which came from their clans. Although some emperors had fewer members in their clans, the strength of their people made up for it, and the faith of each individual was more potent, balancing things out. To reach the 12th order level of cultivation, the power of faith was almost indispensable. It was even the key to the transformation of divine consciousness. Tang San understood this better than anyone. It wasn't until the next morning that Tang San finished absorbing all the faith energy he had accumulated in such a short time, and was ready to set off again. By solving the sea plague in the endless blue sea, the faith energy he received was immense. Although the decree would take a long time to take effect across the entire sea, it also meant a continuous flow of faith energy in the future. The first surge of faith had already significantly boosted his divine consciousness. His cultivation and divine consciousness were now pushing the ceiling of the 10th order. It was a terrifying speed, and even though Mei Gongzi was ahead for now, he was not far behind. The terrifying 9 heavens 10 earths divine extinguishing tribulation had brought him tremendous benefits. However, Tang San wasn't in a hurry to break through. From his experience, unless there was a life and death emergency, one needed to accumulate strength first and foremost. That way, none of his potential would be wasted, and he could immediately reach peak performance when advancing to the next level. By his estimation, once he reached the 11th order, he would be able to challenge some of the weaker emperors. By the time he returned to the White Tiger Hotel, the sun was already high in the sky. The bright sunlight streamed in through the window, gradually warming the room. Tang San still felt some gratitude toward the White Tiger Demon Emperor. Although he appeared fierce and had little affection for humans, out of love for his daughter and granddaughter, he had warned Kali City in advance, allowing the humans to prepare. There had still been thousands of casualties, but Tang San remembered this favor. It was why he had offered to take the White Tiger Demon Emperor with him when they eventually left this plane. He did not rush to find Mei Gongzi. Instead, he just sat down on the sofa. From the tribulation until now, he had been in a constant state of tension. During his meditation, he had been entirely unaware of the outside world, focusing solely on dissolving the destructive force within him, and after that, he had critical matters to deal with. Only now could he finally relax. Everything had come to a conclusion. Mei Gongzi had officially become city lord and had even become a great demon king. He had become a god himself, and humanity was going strong. His next goal was to become even stronger, but that was fairly straightforward. With the plane no longer suppressing him, he only needed to continue receiving the power of faith from the endless blue sea to rapidly advance. Within at most 10 years, he believed he could reach the peak of the 12th order, and take Mei Gongzi with him out of this world to reunite with their family in the divine realm. But was his goal just to leave? If his only target was to return to the divine realm, the simplest approach would be to take Mei Gongzi overseas, retreat into seclusion for 10 years, and once his strength reached its peak, leave with her. He had no reason to complicate his own life with matters unrelated to him. But what about this plane? As Tang San increasingly sensed the deep potential of this plane, he had started forming ideas about it. Before leaving, he had to ensure that humanity had a real foundation for survival and growth, one that could make them powerful. If he wanted to lead this plane to become a divine realm, a strong one at that, it would ultimately depend on humanity. Moreover, he had promised the planar ruler that his descendants would come to Phelan Planet to help it become a divine realm. His offspring would not have any divine positions and would have to start from scratch. Therefore, it was all the more important that Tang San paved the way for them. These were the issues Tang San now had to consider. Tang San was eager to return to the ancestral court, partly to protect Mei Gongzi and partly to reassure her. He now regarded the celestial fox demon emperor with greater caution. This master of destiny could not be judged by conventional means. Who could have predicted that, despite the heavy losses his celestial fox clan had suffered, he would still go ahead and destroy the human settlement. This was completely outside of Tang San's expectations. So who was to say he wouldn't target Mei Gongzi next? Tang San was here to prevent such a situation. Although he couldn't yet defeat an emperor head-on, he could at least ensure their escape if necessary. A flash of white light flickered on the balcony as a beam of white light darted in. When the White Tiger Demon Emperor sensed Tang San's presence at the White Tiger Hotel, he arrived immediately. When the White Tiger Demon Emperor saw Tang San again, his gaze became more complicated. Tang San's words from their last meeting, and even more so the words of the Crystal Demon Emperor, had significantly impacted him. Since Tang San's departure, the White Tiger Demon Emperor had contemplated the matter. "You're back so soon?" the White Tiger Demon Emperor asked in a deep voice. "I couldn't stop worrying about Mei Gongzi, so I came back. Who knows what the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor is capable of? I can only be at ease if I stay by her side. So, I'll have to trouble your majesty again." The White Tiger Demon Emperor frowned and said, "You don't trust me?" Tang San shook his head and said, "It's not that I don't trust you. The Celestial Fox Demon Emperor controls fate, and his abilities are difficult to predict. If he can still slaughter our people even with his power of fortune reduced, there's no telling what else he might do." "Let's go then," the White Tiger Demon Emperor replied in a deep voice. Without saying anything more, the White Tiger Demon Emperor led Tang San back to the White Tiger Palace. Upon entering the palace, the White Tiger Demon Emperor did not take Tang San to see Mei Gongzi right away but led him into another room. "I need to talk to you," the White Tiger Demon Emperor said seriously. "All right." Tang San had already guessed that the White Tiger Demon Emperor was considering his earlier proposal. If it weren't for the destruction of the human settlement shaking his resolve, Tang San wouldn't have revealed his abilities before becoming an emperor. Now that it was out, he had no choice but to win over this person. The door closed, and their divine consciousnesses blocked out any outside interference. The White Tiger Demon Emperor motioned for Tang San to sit, while he took a seat across from him. "I want to know why you're familiar with the Divine Realm, and how you're certain you can take us out of this plane. You're far more mysterious than I imagined," the White Tiger Demon Emperor asked solemnly. Tang San paused for a moment before responding. "You can understand it as me having inherited a legacy from a powerful being from another plane. In that plane there is a divine realm. The legacy I received was left by a god king of that divine realm. After gaining this legacy, I acquired the abilities I have now, including the transcendent bloodline. I know how to cultivate beyond the emperor level, but doing so is forbidden by this plane. That's why my attempt to become a god triggered the 9 heavens 10 earths divine extinguishing tribulation, so I was forced to find a way to survive. It was also through this legacy that I persuaded Her Majesty the Crystal Demon Emperor to work with me. Her life was nearing its end, and she chose to partner with me. For now we've succeeded, and the hardest part is behind us. Once I reach the level beyond Emperor, I'll be able to leave this plane and ascend to that divine realm where the legacy originated, becoming a true eternal god. That's the general situation." This explanation was something Tang San had thought out beforehand. Telling the truth about his reincarnation and search for his wife would be far more complicated and consequently harder to believe. Plus, he couldn't reveal too many of his secrets to the White Tiger Demon Emperor just yet. Framing it as a legacy made it much easier to understand, and it was not technically a lie either. He really had inherited the sea god seat from someone else. After pondering for a few moments, the White Tiger Demon Emperor asked, "Does that legacy include divine artifacts like the one you used before?" The White Tiger Demon Emperor drew a deep breath. "What you've said is too fantastic to believe. But with your transcendent bloodline and the explanation from the Crystal Demon Emperor, I find myself forced to believe it. So, how many can you take with you when you leave this plane?" "I'm not sure right now, but with your strength it shouldn't be a problem." "Does your legacy include a method for me to reach that superior level?" "Methods exist, but you wouldn't be able to do it, at least not on this plane. Any being's greatest and most crucial moment for unlocking their potential is during their divine tribulation. Your abilities have already solidified centuries ago, so increasing your potential further would be very difficult. I was able to survive the tribulation by essentially making a pact with this plane. Namely, when my strength surpasses the Emperor level, I will have to leave this plane because otherwise I would disrupt its balance. That is the case for you as well. Assuming you get to the point where you can break through to the next level, the plane itself will reject you and you will face a similar tribulation. But in a divine realm, there are no such limitations. There your strength can grow even more. The White Tiger Demon Emperor narrowed his eyes. Aren't you afraid I'll report this to the ancestral court and have the other emperors wipe you all out? Tang San shook his head. You are no such madman. First of all, you're Little May's family, and so am I. Whatever happens in the future, I don't want to do anything that would hurt her, and I don't think you want to do that either. Besides, even if you don't fully believe me, why not take the chance? If I don't get to that level, then things will stay the way they are, but if I do, you will also have the chance to go further. Also, I don't believe you have any particular attachments to this plane. You don't have any true kin on this plane. The other white tigers aren't really related to you, and you don't even have any descendants alive right now. Your only family is Su Qin and Mei Gongzi. I plan to take you all with me to another world. What's wrong with that? So no, I don't believe you will act against us. The White Tiger Demon Emperor gave a wry smile and said, You're right about everything. You know, after you left, the strongest feeling I had was how frightening you are. Even more frightening than that old fox. Now I better understand why Celestial Fox fears humanity. He once said that although humans are weak, they have limitless potential. I'm not sure if he saw that in fate or if it's his judgment. But seeing you, I believe I've indeed witnessed that limitless potential. He paused as if to collect his thoughts, then continued. All right, consider me convinced. As you said, I'll take the chance. I won't do anything against you. At least with me, you'll be safe. A smile appeared on Tang San's face. Earning the approval of this emperor meant far more security before he became an emperor himself. Thank you for your approval, Your Majesty. In the future, you won't regret this decision. In fact, you'll be grateful for it. The White Tiger Demon Emperor chuckled. You're quite confident. But I suppose I'm on board with you now. By the way, what's with the Crystal Demon Emperor? Is she parasitizing you? Tang San replied. In a way, yes, you could say she's a companion. But she can also leave my side whenever she wants. Staying with me means she's influenced by my powers, especially the transcendent bloodline, and grows alongside me. After the tribulation, it would have been easiest for her to separate. But she chose to stay and become my partner. She's even more confident in me than you are. The White Tiger Demon Emperor narrowed his eyes. So, if my lifespan happens to run out, I could do the same? Tang San said. In theory, yes, that's possible. But from what I can see, you still have plenty of time, centuries, I'd say. The White Tiger Demon Emperor replied. A century passes in the blink of an eye. Are you saying you're confident you'll get past the Emperor level in such a short time? It definitely won't take that long. I can't say exactly how much time I'll need, but certainly not 100 years, let alone several hundred. Rest assured. Moreover, my cultivation is unique. With every breakthrough, I am able to acquire another ability, meaning there's always another free position. I'll reserve one for you. If your situation becomes critical, with the help of Her Majesty the Crystal Demon Emperor, I should be able to turn you into one of my bloodline imprints and help you be reborn. The White Tiger Demon Emperor's eyes brightened. If this was possible, then his alliance with Tang San became even more vital. It was an additional safeguard for his life. He was different from the Crystal Demon Emperor. The Crystal Demon Emperor's ability was replication. Although he didn't know how the Crystal Demon Emperor achieved rebirth, it surely involved her replicating other powerful abilities to help herself complete the process. However, the White Tiger Demon Emperor didn't have such powers. So you really have the ability to do that? I do, and the higher my cultivation, the better my chances. By the way, could I trouble you with something? Please help me find a human body. Someone who's recently deceased, within the last 12 hours. It must be a natural death, and the younger the better. The White Tiger Demon Emperor blinked in confusion. You need a body? Tang San smiled meaningfully. To prove something to you. Also, it's something I promised Little May I would do. I don't mind telling you. I'm going to resurrect the Peacock Great Demon King. As he died, I managed to capture his divine consciousness and sealed it so it would not dissipate. Now that I've ascended to godhood, I should be able to help him revive. The White Tiger Demon Emperor looked at Tang San with wide eyes, unable to hide his shock. You mean you can really resurrect him? But why a human body? Other races would work too, but human bodies are best for such purposes. As you are well aware, human bodies are compatible with a wide range of abilities, and the chance of rejection is lower. Of course, there are conditions in order to ensure the highest chance of success. The body must be young and strong, and it must have died a natural death within a specific time frame. The reasons for a young and strong body are obvious. As for dying of natural causes, that's because a violent death leaves behind resentment, which makes the spirit harder to disperse and could even result in it becoming a vengeful spirit. Such bodies can't be occupied by another spirit. Meanwhile, after a natural death, the spirit dissipates over time, and during that period, the body is at its most receptive. The White Tiger Demon Emperor said, "That's not difficult. There aren't ordinary humans in the ancestral court, but there are plenty of humans out there. I'll find one for you in White Tiger City. I'd like to witness this miracle myself." Tang San smiled slightly and said, "All right. I need to make some preparations too. Let's do it where little May is cultivating." "All right. If you need anything, just let me know," the White Tiger Demon Emperor generously said. Having decided to cooperate with Tang San, the White Tiger Demon Emperor had no reason to stay on guard against him. This young man had created so many miracles already, and the Emperor wanted to see what other wonders Tang San could bring about. He thus immediately set out for White Tiger City to find a suitable body. When Tang San arrived at the study, Mei Gongzi was meditating. He didn't disturb her. The study was spacious, so Tang San sat cross-legged on the other side and began inscribing an array on the ground with his finger. After reaching godhood, he no longer needed external objects to activate an array. His own energy, especially the various bloodline imprints and the boundless power of the mysterious heaven technique, was enough. Mei Gongzi's meditation didn't last long. When she awoke, she immediately sensed Tang San's presence. The moment she turned and saw him, a deep sense of relief washed over her. Tang San's figure flickered, and he instantly teleported to her side, pulling her into his arms. "Don't worry, I'm back. I'll be by your side from now on, and I won't ever leave you again. Only by staying with you can I feel at ease." Mei Gongzi gently nodded and leaned into his embrace. "It's me who should feel more at ease. What about our people?" Tang San sighed and explained everything he had learned to Mei Gongzi. When Mei Gongzi heard that almost 5,000 elderly, sick, and infirm people had willingly sacrificed themselves, she couldn't help but shed tears. They won't have died in vain. Tang San's voice was soft, but Mei Gongzi could hear the steel-hard resolve within. He held her tightly. "Don't be sad. I have some good news to tell you as well." "What is it?" Mei Gongzi looked up at him. Tang San gently wiped the tears from her face and said, "I'm preparing to resurrect the Peacock Great Demon King." Mei Gongzi's heart skipped a beat. "Are you confident?" Tang San nodded. "It should be fine. The question is, have you prepared yourself mentally?" By now, she already knew that the Peacock Great Demon King wasn't her biological father, and had even been using her all along. Tang San worried she might not know how to face him. Mei Gongzi sighed and said, "No matter what, he raised me. Just like he said, without him I might have died when I was born. They say raising a child counts for more than giving birth. He raised me into adulthood and taught me everything I know. No matter when, I will always see him as my father. As long as after his resurrection, he doesn't harm my human race when he regains control of the Peacock Demon clan, I will accept him." Tang San stroked her hair and chuckled. "Who said he'd regain control of the Peacock Demon clan? Sure, he saved you all back then, but he also used you, your mother, and even your biological father. You think he can just use my wife and get away with it? I promised I'd resurrect him, and so I will, but I never said he'd be the exact same way he was before dying." "Your wife?" Mei Gongzi was momentarily stunned before she realized what he meant. Her face flushed with embarrassment as she broke free from his embrace. "Who's your wife? You're so annoying." Tang San smiled and said, "It's only a matter of time. Do you think you can escape?"
Impossible.
"I want to hear you call me Big Brother San for the rest of our lives." "PFT, what Big Brother? You're younger than me now, so I won't call you that." I'll call you Little Tang. Little Tang, Little Tang, Little Tang, Mei Gongzi teased him. All right, Little Tang it is, Tang San said. Seeing her adorable expression, he couldn't resist quickly kissing her cheek. How are you planning to resurrect my father? Mei Gongzi asked, pushing against his chest. I plan to use a human body to resurrect him. The main reason is that a human body is easier to acquire and more likely to accommodate a new spirit. Although a peacock demon body would work, your clan only has a few thousand members, and it would be impossible to find one that meets the criteria. It must be someone young and strong who died peacefully and very recently. The other reason is that, well, after his resurrection he will be human. Mei Gongzi was taken aback. You want my father to become human? I have to admit he's smart, and his ability to strategize even impressed me. He's also incredibly patient. How many people do you think can do what he did? Having someone like that and not bringing him into our folds would be a waste. Once he's resurrected, he'll be human and he will be treated as a human, so naturally, he'll come to stand with humans. And think of his relationship with the Peacock Demon Clan's Grand Elder. Do you think your second mother would reject him for being human? Mei Gongzi shook her head. She definitely wouldn't. Tang San smiled and said, exactly. With him as a link, the relationship between the Peacock Demon Clan and humans will naturally grow closer, which means Kali City will become more friendly toward humans. It's a win-win. That's why resurrecting him as a human is the best outcome. You sure think of everything. Tang San smiled bitterly. It can't be helped. Humans are too weak and lack a solid foundation. We have to use all kinds of methods to strengthen humanity as a whole. That way, when we leave in the future, we can at least leave humans with a foundation for growth. Do we really have to leave this plane in the future? Why do we have to go? Tang San nodded lightly. Right now you don't know everything, but I believe that as your cultivation progresses, your memories from your past life will gradually return and merge with your memories from this life. You'll most likely see a lot of things when you become an emperor. At that point, you'll surely miss our home and our children. When he mentioned our children, Mei Gongzi's face flushed red once again. But I'm not who I used to be anymore, right? Will they still accept me? Tang San smiled and said, of course they will. In fact, what you don't know is that you're becoming more and more like your past self. After all, you were half a god king in your previous life. Even though you've reincarnated in the proper way, the imprints of your past life remain within you. As your strength grows, your self from this life will gradually merge with your past self. Mei Gongzi gently nodded and took his hand. Thank you for coming to find me. Tang San held her hand tightly. As long as you don't mind being with me in this life, we'll always be together. I don't mind. Mei Gongzi shook her head softly. I won't mind in this life and I won't mind in the next. Although Tang San never pounded his chest about what he'd done for her, how could Mei Gongzi not know? During her evaluation, it was Tang San who bore the greatest risk. She had personally witnessed him endure the terrifying tribulation again and again. The power of that tribulation was far more terrifying than the one she had once faced. Without Tang San, she didn't know what kind of person she would be today. She certainly wouldn't have achieved what she had now. Tang San had always protected her, doing whatever it took to shield and help her. While the White Tiger Demon Emperor might think Tang San was too cunning and scheming, Mei Gongzi believed otherwise. Tang San had laid his entire heart and soul bare for her. I'll try my best so there won't be a next life. Mei Gongzi pushed. Are you saying you won't want me in the next life? Tang San shook his head and said, that's not what I meant. I mean, I want to hold on to you in this life. And in this life I want us to truly become immortal and live forever, in harmony with the universe. As a former god king, the most difficult opponent he truly had to face wasn't any of the emperors of this plane, nor the planar ruler, but the laws of the universe itself. If not for the universe's laws forbidding a divine realm from becoming too powerful, why would Xiao Wu have been forced to reincarnate in the first place? But going against the laws of the universe was no easy task. Even with a circle of god kings and a powerful divine realm, they were still insignificant when faced with the universe as a whole. Tang San had already made some preparations, but they weren't enough. He needed more power and more preparations. In fact, His intention when promising to the planar ruler to help the plane become a divine realm was for Phelan planet to be part of these preparations. However, the path ahead was still long, and it would take plenty of time. Mei Gongxi's gaze became a bit hazy. Is it really possible to be immortal? Aren't we being too greedy? Tang San replied. How will we know unless we try? At the very least, we'll have tried. Effort gives us a chance. This time, I'll make sure we're fully prepared.
Mei Gongxi nodded.
All right, but let's get back to more immediate matters. When do you plan to resurrect my father? Very soon. Oh, and there's more good news. Your grandfather has agreed to stand with us. With his help, things should go much smoother before we become emperors. Actually, he's already gone to find a suitable body for your father. Once he returns, we'll begin.
Mei Gongxi was pleasantly surprised.
Grandfather came around? It's all benefit and no harm to him, so why would he not? You don't need to cultivate today, just rest for a bit. Once he returns, we'll begin. All right.
Mei Gongxi nodded.
With her father about to be resurrected and her grandfather's support, some of the sorrow in her heart was finally eased. Tang San didn't bring up the thousands of people who had perished. The deep hatred and enmity would have to be buried for now, but vengeance would come. Although they were resting, they didn't leave the study. Tang San simply held Mei Gongxi on the sofa, savoring the rare moment of intimacy. Sadly, these moments never last. Otherwise, they wouldn't be called moments. The White Tiger Demon Emperor was truly efficient, and Tang San found that out, to his great dismay. The Emperor actually returned within 2 hours. Seeing the smile on Mei Gongxi's face, his expression relaxed considerably. He knew that Tang San's comfort had improved her mood. I got it. Shall we start now? The White Tiger Demon Emperor asked Tang San. Let's do it. There's no time to waste. The earlier the spirit merges, the better the result. All right. The White Tiger Demon Emperor had already noticed the array Tang San had drawn earlier. He went to the array, and with a flash of light from the large gemstone ring on his left ring finger, a body appeared within the array. It was the body of a man that looked to be around 30. His appearance was ordinary and his build was average, completely unremarkable. It was stone cold, well and truly dead. It seems his name was Shao Hung. He was just an ordinary person, not particularly gifted in any way, and I was told he died suddenly. I checked him and I believe he had a blood flow problem, possibly a blocked artery. When I found him, he had been dead for about an hour. He had no family and was completely alone. He should meet your requirements, right? He was the youngest of those I found who fit the bill. Tang San nodded in approval. He'll do. I'll begin now. Go ahead, let's see you create a miracle, the White Tiger Demon Emperor said, stepping back. Mei Gongxi followed and stepped back with him. Grandfather, she softly called out. The White Tiger Demon Emperor didn't look at her, only replying with a groan of acknowledgement. Mei Gongxi whispered, Thank you. The White Tiger Demon Emperor replied faintly, As long as you don't hate me, that's enough. Mei Gongxi gently tugged on his sleeve, and the once stern expression of the White Tiger Demon Emperor softened slightly. He sighed softly and said, I was too stubborn back then, and it caused your mother so much suffering. I should have gone to find her sooner, but what kind of man admits he's wrong? Still, I regret it. Do you know what Tang San said that moved me the most? It wasn't about immortality. It was about our family being together. You two are the only real family I have left, just you and your mother. Everyone else is unimportant. And the older I get, the more I crave the comfort of family. When you return to Cali City, tell your mother that the stubborn old man isn't so stubborn anymore. Ask her to come back and see me. Hearing his words, Mei Gongxi's nose tingled, and she almost cried. Mother will come back to see you. Tang San and I will bring her back. Whenever she talks about you, she says she misses you. The White Tiger Demon Emperor patted her shoulder. You're luckier than she was. Back then she met a real scumbag. After you two left yesterday, I was in a bad mood, so I went to find that scumbag and gave him a beating. He probably feels too guilty about what happened to you two because he didn't fight back. I beat him until his face was bruised, and he didn't say a word in complaint. Tang San, who was preparing for the resurrection ritual, twitched when he heard this. The Crystal Phoenix Demon Emperor really had bad luck. Was he going to get beaten every time the White Tiger Demon Emperor was in a bad mood? When the opportunity arose, he had to pay a visit to his wife's biological father, but that would have to wait for later, when he was stronger. There were originally 16 emperors in the ancestral court, but only 15 remained with the fall of the Crystal Demon Emperor. Tang San had secured the support of the White Tiger Demon Emperor. Kali City would be much more secure if he could also gain the support of the Crystal Phoenix Demon Emperor. The Sword Saint Demon Emperor was also someone who could be won over. If that happened, then even if the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor had designs on Kali City, he would have to tread carefully. 1. This Shao is not the same as the one in Shao Wu. It's a fairly common Chinese surname, 30th on the list of common surnames actually. It also happens to be the other surname of Smooth Che in Against the Gods. The character for he means river, and it's a normal character used in normal names. In other words, the name is about as plain as it gets. The White Tiger Demon Emperor continued speaking to Mei Gongzi. You have better judgment than your mother. The boy you've chosen is quite good. Even though he's a bit too cunning for his own good, he's absolutely devoted to you. But I must say he's incredibly reckless. To help you with your evaluation, he chose to summon a tribulation at that moment, even risking the lives of the entire ancestral court and forcing all the emperors to intervene. At the time I suspected something, but I didn't really think he was capable of such a feat. I have to admit, I underestimated him. But a man like that will attract a lot of attention. You'd better keep a close watch on him so no one steals him away.
Mei Gongzi snorted.
I'm not worried. If someone else can steal him away, then that just means I'm not attractive enough. But he's not going anywhere. Tang San turned his head to glance at the White Tiger Demon Emperor. Wasn't he going to let him perform the resurrection properly? The praise was fine, but the rest was just setting him up for trouble. He coughed lightly. I'm going to start now. The White Tiger Demon Emperor's lips curled into a smirk. Hey, little boy, you think you can do whatever you want? So you do get nervous sometimes, hee. At this moment, Tang San stood beside the array, his expression serious. His divine consciousness slowly activated, imbuing the array. By this point, the White Tiger Demon Emperor had already sealed off the entire study with his own divine consciousness, ensuring no energy could leak out. Within the array, the body of Shao He lay completely still. The runes of the array slowly began to glow, golden light patterns lighting up one by one, while Tang San maintained his peak mental state. In a flash of light, the space-time lighthouse slowly emerged from in front of his abdomen. The sea god's trident resided within Tang San's sea of consciousness, while the space-time lighthouse was stationed within his dantian, being nourished by the chaos energy of his chaos blue-silver grass. Even for a divine material like the space-time beacon, chaos energy was incredibly nourishing. Tang San would have to return this drop of chaos energy to the plane before leaving, but as long as he remained here, he could use it for his own purposes. The space-time lighthouse radiated a milky white light. This was the second time the White Tiger Demon Emperor was seeing this divine artifact in action, and his gaze instantly sharpened as he observed it closely. Last time, Tang San had used this artifact to forcibly seize a strand of his divine consciousness and performed what seemed to be a time reversal, allowing him to witness the actions of the White Tiger Demon Emperor and the Celestial Fox Demon Emperor. While the White Tiger Demon Emperor had been furious at the time, he had also been deeply shocked. He still didn't fully understand the mechanism behind it, but he believed that Tang San hadn't read his memories per se, but rather used a time-related ability to observe what he had sensed with his divine consciousness. At this moment, seeing this divine artifact that could emit both temporal and spatial fluctuations once again, the White Tiger Demon Emperor couldn't help but feel a bit of excitement. With his discerning eye, he could naturally see the value of this artifact. Time and space, these were the two most mysterious elements. For them to both appear in a single artifact, it had to be a top-tier treasure. Moreover, it seemed that Tang San was highly proficient in using it, indicating that he had been working with it for a very long time. If it weren't for the golden markings on Tang San's forehead that suggested the presence of an even more powerful artifact, the White Tiger Demon Emperor would have assumed this was his life-bound artifact. Tang San focused intently, gathering his divine consciousness onto the space-time lighthouse. White light flowed down from the pagoda, enveloping the body below as well as the entire array. On the surface, it seemed as though nothing was happening, but upon closer inspection, one would notice that the light patterns shifting on the ground were now moving more slowly. In fact, everything appeared to be moving in slow motion. Next, Tang San pressed his hands forward in the air, and soft white light gently poured out from his palms. Under the influence of the space-time lighthouse, this energy descended very slowly, like a mist, and gradually entered Xiaohe's body. This was his internal energy, the energy cultivated using the mysterious heaven technique. If he wanted to use this body to resurrect the Peacock Great Demon King, the first step was to resolve the body's original ailments. Tang San continued to pour in energy, and though Xiaohe's body remained motionless, a faint white glow began to emanate from it. Using his energy, Tang San cleared the body's blood vessels, essentially purifying and refining the body. Taking advantage of the fact that the body was not alive and therefore could not feel anything, he adjusted its bones, meridians, and blood to a certain degree, transforming this ordinary body into something extraordinary. It was only now that he had reached godhood that Tang San could make full use of his internal energy's infinite regenerative power. Dense energy continuously poured into Xiaohe's body, as if Tang San were refining a tool, steadily enhancing the body's functions with life energy. Xiaohe had been dead for only a short time, so although his heart had stopped, the rest of his body still retained significant vitality. Under Tang San's stimulation, the body began to transform. From its pores, dark gray impurities continuously seeped out, which Tang San burned away, causing the body to appear somewhat crystalline and transparent. Tang San's face glowed with a faint light, and he seemed somewhat saintly as he clasped his hands before his chest. His internal energy swirled around the body, infusing it and cleansing it from the inside out. The White Tiger Demon Emperor quietly observed from the side, using his divine consciousness to sense the properties of the energy Tang San was radiating. The surprise on his face grew stronger the more he observed. He realized that this energy wasn't any form of bloodline power, and neither was it spiritual power. Instead, it was a pure energy that seemed to be nothing other than refined and compressed spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Moreover, it also seemed to contain a massive amount of life energy, and under its influence, the body was undergoing a complete transformation. Everything about the body was changing. Even its skin became cleaner and its facial features looked smoother. The White Tiger Demon Emperor could also use his own power to enhance another life form's bodily functions, but he had to admit that he couldn't achieve what Tang San was doing, seemingly even elevating the body's life level. His power was too domineering, not as gentle and easily absorbed as Tang San's energy. Tang San took a long time to improve this body, not just curing its original illness, but completely refining it from the inside out. He used the body sex method of physical refinement that he'd learned on the Douluo continent. Normally, this process was extremely painful, but dead people feel no pain, so it was the perfect opportunity for refining. Of course, it was something impossible to replicate, unless someone wanted to die and then find a new body to be reborn into. Tang San wasn't cutting any corners. After all, this was, in a way, one of his fathers-in-law. Even though Tang San had some ulterior reasons for picking a human body, that human body would be the absolute best he could produce. As Tang San's energy continued to circulate, the corpse's bluish complexion gradually faded, and the body began to appear lifelike, even taking on a slight ethereal quality. Tang San's lips curved into a slight smile. "Father-in-law, I'm treating you well, aren't I? With this foundation, whatever abilities you cultivate in the future will be twice as effective with half the effort. You'll be able to cultivate whatever you want, however you want." As for how his father-in-law would cultivate in the future, naturally he would follow the path of the demonic god transformation, specifically the peacock transformation. Since he had already mastered the abilities of the peacock demon bloodline, that was the best way to go. As for how to obtain said bloodline, well, he would have to borrow some from a certain queen consort. The Peacock Demon Emperor's bloodline would bring the best results, and now that Tang San had refined this body to a state of near-perfect purity, absorbing a bloodline would be no problem at all. After a full hour of refinement, the body had become nearly transparent. Its blood vessels functioned normally, and a quick divine consciousness scan revealed even brainwaves. Only then did Tang San stop injecting his internal energy. At this point, the body was indistinguishable from a living person who was temporarily unconscious. Tang San then guided the space-time lighthouse to descend slowly, landing on Xiaohe's chest. Soft halos spread out, enveloping his body. A strange golden light glimmered from the space-time lighthouse, and in the next instant, the golden light shot out, landing on Xiaohe's forehead. The White Tiger Demon Emperor focused his gaze and saw that the golden light was actually in the shape of a tiny figure, continuously shifting between a human form and that of a peacock in a rather unstable manner. When it took the form of a human, its eyes remained tightly shut, and faint fluctuations of divine consciousness appeared. Tang San focused his mind, unleashing his divine consciousness. Behind him, a wheel of light appeared, spinning, as a golden radiance emerged from behind him. It was a unique aura of majesty. As soon as it appeared, the White Tiger Demon Emperor felt his divine consciousness tremble violently, even experiencing an intense longing. It felt as though obtaining that golden light would grant him something he could never reach otherwise. At the same time, he felt suppressed. His divine consciousness felt sluggish, and he was simply in awe for whatever reason. That was because, unbeknownst to him, he was witnessing true godhood. What his divine consciousness felt was Tang San's sea god seat. The greatest difference between Tang San and the so-called god-level powerhouses, emperors included, was that he possessed a divine seat from a divine realm. Only a true god could understand the importance of a divine seat. It determined a god's potential, their dominion, and the source and destination of their faith. Without a divine seat, even if one reached that level of personhood, one physically and spiritually, they would merely be a powerful being but not a true god. They could be a demon king, great nymph king, or even an emperor, but a deity they were not. Tang San's level of personhood was far below that of the emperors, but if he summoned a divine seat, things changed drastically. The sea god, in particular, was as far beyond the emperors as they were beyond ordinary humans. Thus, there were some things that even the emperors could not achieve, but Tang San could. The sea god's radiance descended upon Xiaohe's body, and in an instant, the entire array turned into a dazzling golden hue. Tang San pressed his hands together in front of his chest, his eyes closed. The sea god's golden shadow behind him became clearer, merging completely with his body and transforming him into a figure of pure gold. The golden figure raised a hand and pointed at the peacock great demon king's divine consciousness. In the next instant, the flickering consciousness stabilized, taking on the form of a human. The golden figure slowly descended, sinking into Xiaohe's body. Immediately, Xiaohe's body began to tremble violently, with his veins and meridians swelling and pulsating intensely. This was, after all, just an ordinary human body. Even though the peacock great demon king had died, his divine consciousness remained at the level of a peak great demon king. If this were a regular human body, it would never be able to contain such a powerful consciousness. Tang San had refined this body as much as he could, improving it far beyond normal human limits, but even so, the body's reaction was still extremely intense. Another wave of milky white light rippled from the space-time lighthouse, transforming into a white halo that surrounded the divine consciousness. As soon as the white halo appeared, the violent trembling of Xiaohe's body rapidly subsided. Improved though it was, the body still couldn't directly withstand the full force of such a powerful divine consciousness. So Tang San employed a trick, using the space-time lighthouse to partially seal the peacock great demon king's divine consciousness. This seal suppressed its strength, allowing it to release gradually rather than all at once. This method only affected the sheer power of the divine consciousness. It did not interfere with awareness. This was the crucial reason Tang San dared to say he could help the peacock great demon king be reborn. Without the space-time lighthouse, they would at least need the body of a demon king, and even then it would have to be from the peacock demon clan to give them any chance of success. As the seal took effect, the divine consciousness began to sink into the body at a faster pace. Golden light patterns continuously flowed from Xiaohe's head down into his body, which once more began to quiver, but this time in a rhythmic, steady fashion. The White Tiger Demon Emperor and Mei Gongzi watched closely, observing these wondrous changes. Even the White Tiger Demon Emperor, at his level of power, felt that he was gaining valuable insights. Tang San's mastery of divine consciousness, life energy, and godly aura left a deep impression on him. He was beginning to understand more clearly why the Crystal Demon Emperor had chosen to collaborate with Tang San. The inheritance Tang San had received was indeed on a level that surpassed all the forces of this plane. A faint smile appeared on the White Tiger Demon Emperor's face. He had already made up his mind. Not only would he cooperate with this young man in the future, but he would also learn from him. Through Tang San, the White Tiger Demon Emperor saw the potential for his own advancement. Even if he remained limited to the level of an emperor, there were differences between emperors. Just look at the celestial pillar. His own celestial pillar was just over 250 meters, while others had pillars of 3, 4, even 500 meters. After the Crystal Demon Emperor's fall, her celestial pillar had even reached an unprecedented 600 meters. So why couldn't he achieve such heights? Thinking of this, the White Tiger Demon Emperor felt a surge of excitement. If he stuck around this remarkable young man, perhaps some remarkable things would also happen to him as well. Mei Gongxi's focus was naturally different from his. What she cared about was whether her father could be successfully resurrected. And when she saw the Peacock Great Demon King's divine consciousness appear, her heart began to race. Back when the Peacock Great Demon King died, Tang San promised to find a way to bring him back. At the time, Mei Gongxi had thought he was merely trying to comfort her. Yet now she found that he might actually pull it off. Since his breakthrough to godhood, he had truly changed, far more than she had after her own tribulation. Even though she had now become a great demon king, it was clear that the gap between them was not in her favor. The image of the sea god gradually retracted and disappeared into Tang San. Tang San's cultivation was still far from being able to make full use of the sea god's divine seat. That would have to wait until he regained his old god king power. However, with the assistance of the divine seat, the divine consciousness he had expended was now recovering smoothly. In particular, he had already exercised the sea god's authority in the endless blue sea. As the benefits that the sea gained from this authority grew, especially after solving the sea plague, the stronger the feedback would be to him. This would make him a true sea god of this plane. The immense power of faith would become the foundation of his future growth. In the future, when he reached the emperor level, he would need to amass a vast amount of faith power to prepare for his return to the God King realm. This would also be the next major challenge Tang San had to face. While this plane didn't restrict him in this respect, the universe itself did. As the former ruler of a major divine realm, whether the laws of the universe would allow him to become a God King once more was a significant question. After all, the Douluo divine realm was immensely powerful, and whether Tang San was part of it would make a world of difference. Furthermore, Tang San had long been thinking about how to defy the laws of heaven and ensure the eternal existence of the Douluo divine realm. These goals all went against the entire universe's laws, and thus, his future path to reclaiming his God King authority would likely require him to face a trial from the universe itself. As for what that entailed, he had no idea. All he could do was his best, because the manner of a confrontation with the entire universe was something even a God King couldn't predict. 1. In case this term seems familiar, that's because its translation is borrowed from another WW novel, Beyond the Timescape. It refers to the fact that some beings are fundamentally different from others in a qualitative manner. Not like some humans are smarter than others, but like the human brain is fundamentally different from a shrimp's brain, and 3D things are different from 2D things. As the divine consciousness of the Peacock Great Demon King fully merged into Shaohe's body, the trembling of Shaohe's body gradually ceased. At this time, Tang San's gaze was intensely focused, and he was even a bit nervous. This final step was the most critical, whether the divine consciousness and the body could truly fuse together. Only if the body accepted the divine consciousness, and the divine consciousness gained control of the body, would this resurrection be truly complete. This step required a bit of luck, and it mostly depended on the will of the Peacock Great Demon King. The light gradually faded, and the glow from the array on the ground dimmed. Shaohe's body also became completely still. Tang San didn't use any more abilities and put away the space-time lighthouse. Instead, he sat down beside the body and motioned for silence to the White Tiger Demon Emperor and Mei Gongxi. "Wang Qing, can you hear me? Wang Qing," Tang San called softly. Shaohe's body showed no reaction. Tang San continued, "Wang Qing, wake up quickly. Otherwise, your daughter won't acknowledge you anymore." Shaohe's body still didn't respond. Although his complexion had not returned to its previous bluish color, and his vital signs were normal, there was no sign of him waking up. Tang San didn't give up. He sighed, each of his words infused with divine consciousness. Wang Qing, your wife is going to remarry tomorrow. She's going to marry Lin Shima. The moment these words were spoken, Shao He's previously still body suddenly trembled violently. In the next instant he opened his eyes. When he heard Tang San's words, the White Tiger Demon Emperor's mouth twitched, and Mei Gongzi was left dumbfounded. The body's reaction at this moment showed massive shock as well. He had woken up just like that? On a closer look, his eyes were wide open, but he still seemed to be in a semi-conscious state. He was lying there unmoving. Tang San softly said, "You are Wang Qing and you are also Shao He. How about you return to your senses?" As he spoke, he pointed his right hand, sending a golden glow into Shao He's forehead. Shao He shuddered violently. Then his entire being began to emit a strange glow, golden light swirling around him from head to toe. Who? He exhaled a mouthful of turbid air, and then, quite abruptly, he sat up. He remained still at first, as if frozen in place, and it took more than 10 seconds before he slowly turned his head to look at Tang San. His gaze was still somewhat hazy, but he was already murmuring softly, She won't marry anyone else. She won't." Tang San smiled slightly. "No, she will not. Are you satisfied, former lord of Kali City?" The man's whole body trembled, and his gaze gradually turned clear as he looked at Tang San. You are?" Tang San nodded at him and said, "I am Azura and also Tang San. Father." At that moment, Mei Gongzi rushed over to his side. She quivered as she looked him in the eye. The face was entirely unfamiliar, but the look in those eyes, how many people knew it better than she did? He trembled again as he looked at Mei Gongzi. For a moment, his gaze grew complicated. "Little Mei, your little Mei? I didn't die. What's happening? Where am I?" Tears immediately welled up in Mei Gongzi's eyes, her emotions just as conflicted. She had wanted to throw herself into the arms of the reborn peacock Great Demon King, but the unfamiliar face stopped her. "Yes, I'm little Mei. You did die, but Tang San brought you back. You've been revived." By now, Wang Qing had fully regained consciousness. He looked down at his body, instinctively touching his face, feeling the warmth of his flesh and the gathering of his awareness. Resurrection. Had he truly been brought back to life? But soon he noticed something amiss. As he used his consciousness to examine his body, he realized it was hollow, lacking the powerful bloodline force he once had. Even his divine consciousness was but a fragment of its former self. Wang Qing looked from Mei Gongzi to Tang San in complete confusion. "Could you tell me what's going on? You've just been resurrected, and your spirit is still unstable. You should rest for now," said the White Tiger Demon Emperor, who had approached and briefly assessed Wang Qing's condition. Seeing him, Wang Qing's eyes widened in shock. "Your Majesty, the White Tiger. Greetings." The White Tiger Demon Emperor's gaze was sharp as he stared at him. "You manipulated my daughter, and you used my granddaughter. We'll settle that debt later. Wang Qing, you better remember this because I sure will." Wang Qing's expression turned awkward. Yes, he now remembered everything that had happened before his death, but he didn't know how to explain himself. "Take some time to meditate and stabilize your spirit," Tang San said. "Your body collapsed, so I used another one to resurrect you, and I integrated your divine consciousness into it. But since your consciousness is too strong, I had to seal part of it. As your power returns in the future, your consciousness will gradually be unsealed. Once you undergo the divine tribulation, your body and spirit will merge properly, and you'll be able to access the full power of your divine consciousness." Wang Qing nodded, casting Tang San a deep glance. "Thank you." Tang San just shook his head. With the White Tiger Demon Emperor and Mei Gongzi standing beside him, Wang Qing was unsure how to face them. Perhaps meditation was the best way out for now. At that, he sat down cross-legged, gathered his focus inward, and began to meditate. Although his physical abilities were gone, his experience was certainly not. He willed his spirit into harmonizing with his new body, silently feeling the changes within while stabilizing his divine consciousness. Tang San raised his hand and set up a soundproof barrier around him before walking over to the White Tiger Demon Emperor and Mei Gongzi. Well, that worked, he said with a grin. Mei Gongzi stared at him, still with a hint of disbelief in her eyes. Her father had truly been resurrected. Many things could be faked, but that gaze was unmistakable. It was her father's. Though he hadn't yet regained his former calmness, there was no doubt it was him. What's his current state like? The White Tiger Demon Emperor asked curiously. Even for him, this was the first time seeing such a situation. He was certain that even the immortal Flame Phoenix's Nirvana rebirth couldn't be applied to other life forms, only to oneself. What Tang San had done, preserving someone's divine consciousness to resurrect them in a new body, was something simply unheard of, nothing short of a miracle. Tang San had been able to resurrect Wang Qing due to the strength of the latter's divine consciousness, and the fact that it had been preserved immediately after his death, coupled with the space-time lighthouse, which was perfectly capable of creating a bubble where time stood still. Wang Qing's divine consciousness remained exactly as it was at the moment of death. With the right body and the authority of godhood, he could be brought back. Tang San explained, it was impossible for his divine consciousness to merge with the human body in its original state, so I applied 9 seals to it. Each seal locks a part of its power. For now, only a sliver of it remains active, keeping him awake and allowing him to access his original memories and awareness. I purified this body with my power, and while it is human, its potential actually surpasses his previous body's potential. However, since this is a fusion between a consciousness and a new body, some issues will inevitably arise. His consciousness and body won't perfectly sync like they did before. There will be limits to his power, no matter how much he cultivates. At the very least, he won't be able to leave this plane. Otherwise, his unstable consciousness could cause the fusion to dissolve. But regaining his former strength shouldn't be a problem, given his solid foundation and the condition of this body. The White Tiger Demon Emperor nodded and said, "That's already quite good. How many people get a second chance at life? He's very fortunate. He owes it all to our little Mei. I have to say, though, that guy can be quite infuriating." Tang San replied, "Understandable, but he saved Aunt Su Qin and little Mei at the most critical moment. Without him, Aunt Su Qin and little Mei would have died. Yes, let's say his merits and faults cancel each other out. Anyway, it seems like you want to have him on the human side." Tang San nodded. Wang Qing's intelligence is exceptional. Having someone like him among humans would be a blessing for humanity. I suppose it's also a bit of my own selfish desire. The White Tiger Demon Emperor shook his head helplessly. You should still be cautious with him. Tang San smiled slightly. Times have changed. I believe that now that he's given a second chance, his mindset will also change quite a lot. What are your plans next? I'll stay with little Mei and spend the next 2 months helping her. During this time, I will also lay the groundwork for Wang Qing, helping him build a strong foundation for future growth. His spirit still needs continuous stabilization. All right, then stay here. My place is certainly safe enough. Let me know if you need anything. Thank you, Your Majesty. The White Tiger Demon Emperor waved his hand and said, No need for thanks, I have my own reasons to keep you here. I want to experience your power for myself, especially your transcendent bloodline. I'm very curious about it. I believe that being around you will benefit my own growth. That's why I want to spar with you. It will also benefit you. After all, it's not every day that you get to spar with an emperor. Tang San's eyes lit up. I'd love to, actually. But we need a completely hidden place, where other emperors won't notice. The aura of my transcendent bloodline is too obvious. Don't worry about that. I've been an emperor for many years. If I couldn't even handle something as basic as that, I wouldn't deserve the title of emperor. Rest for now. Tomorrow I'll come find you. This person was ranked 5th among all the demon emperors and of a far senior generation, yet he had lowered himself to ask Tang San for a spar. This only showed how much he valued Tang San. The young man had continuously demonstrated extraordinary abilities before him, which piqued his interest. He genuinely wanted to learn something from Tang San. Each surprise Tang San brought was unlike anything the White Tiger Demon Emperor had ever seen, making him curious for more and inspiring him to work on his own growth. Mei Gongzi suddenly spoke up. If you two are going to spar, I want to watch. The White Tiger Demon Emperor burst out laughing when he heard this. What? Are you afraid I'll hurt your little boyfriend? Mei Gongzi's face turned red. What boyfriend? It's not like that at all. The White Tiger Demon Emperor rolled his eyes. I'm not blind. Of course I'll let you watch when the time comes. A fight will help you improve too. Anyway, we'll talk tomorrow. It's rare for me to look forward to something, but this is definitely something I'm excited about. Tang Sen chuckled. I'm looking forward to it too. After the White Tiger Demon Emperor left, Tang San took the still emotionally stirred Mei Gongzi and stayed by Shao He's side, waiting for him to finish meditating. Indeed, there was no longer a peacock great demon king Wang Qing, only a human called Shao He, and in that respect, there were certain things Tang San needed to clarify with him. The man's mindset was genuinely exceptional. Even after experiencing such shocking things as his own death and revival, he managed to calm down and meditate for 2 hours, stabilizing his spirit. When he opened his eyes again, his gaze had become much more lively, and he looked completely normal. His gaze immediately landed on Tang San. He stood up, bowed slightly, and said, Thank you for bringing me back to life and giving me a second chance. Tang San waved his hand. No need to thank me. I only revived you because I didn't want little Mei to be heartbroken. I believe you are aware of your current state, right? Wang Qing chuckled bitterly. I suppose I'm a human now, right? Tang San nodded. You are. The conditions for revival are extremely strict. Even though I preserved your spirit to bring you back to life, I needed a suitable body. But no matter what kind of body I chose, it would have been very different from your original one, even if it was the body of your own progeny. Any difference would lead to a strong rejection, and the fusion would fail. Moreover, with the limited number of peacock demons, finding a recently deceased body that died naturally and wasn't too old was practically impossible. So after careful consideration, I determined that a human body was most suitable for you. Although this body is still different from your original one, the fusion is a lot easier to control. As you well know, humans are naturally weak and lack innate abilities. It's impossible for a dead human body to fight off your divine consciousness. When they merged, there was bound to be some rejection, but it would be minimal. It would be something you can control with your divine consciousness. That way, the fusion wouldn't be a problem. However, your divine consciousness is far too powerful, so I had to divide it into 9 parts. As you open the seals, you can regain more and more of that power. I kept only a small portion of your divine consciousness to ensure this body can handle it. I also completely transformed this body, and its potential is leagues beyond what it used to be. Cultivating again in the future shouldn't be difficult. Also, regaining the Peacock Demon Clan's bloodline won't be hard either. I can help you with that. Given your experience, regaining your strength won't take long. And as your physique and bloodline cultivation improves, you'll also get back your divine consciousness. Wang Qing smiled meaningfully. So in other words, I'm human now. And as a human, I need to draw closer to other humans. After all, I am no longer a member of the Peacock Demon Clan. The Peacock Great Demon King died fighting the Crystal Phoenix Demon Emperor. But at the same time, my wife won't forget her feelings for me just because I've changed species. This way, the Peacock Demon Clan will naturally grow closer to humans. It sounds awfully convenient if you ask me. Hearing this, Tang San couldn't help but smile. Smart people are indeed easy to talk to. In just the short time he'd spent meditating, the cunning Peacock Great Demon King had already understood his situation and figured out Tang San's intentions. Thus, he didn't argue or explain anything. He simply nodded. Wang Qing's smile gradually became warmer. Well, whatever, who cares? It's so good to be alive. You know what, that's actually the biggest feeling I have just now, relief. I feel incredibly relieved. Ever since my wife chose me, I haven't had a single day of ease. There was always the burden of the Peacock Demon Clan's responsibilities, her expectations, all those things. It's been decades, you know? Now I can finally relax, so I have to say being human feels pretty good to me. I don't even care about the bloodline of the Peacock Demon Clan. Thank you for bringing me back. But as he spoke, his gaze shifted to Mei Gongzi, and he sighed. Little Mei, you probably know everything by now, right? Mei Gongzi looked at him, her eyes showing a complicated expression as she nodded. Wang Qing sighed once more. I don't expect you to see me as your father anymore. I did take advantage of both you and your mother. I won't make any excuses for my actions, but I want you to know that I never intended to hurt you or her. For a long time, I even forgot that you weren't my biological daughter. Sometimes I even thought how wonderful it would have been if you were truly my own child. Why couldn't any of my children be as great as you? Now that you've brought me back, I am willing to do whatever I have to do to repay you. I am no longer the Peacock Great Demon King, but that only means I have the freedom to do things I was unable to do in the past. Mei Gongzi's voice trembled, and that single word made Wang Qing's heart skip a beat. You were the one who raised me, taught me, and gave me the abilities I have now. I might not have even made it into this world if it weren't for you. What other unrelated people did doesn't matter. In my heart, you've always been my father. Everything you did for me was what a good father would do. It's always more difficult to raise a child than to give birth to one. I know that you used me and my mother, but you've always been kind to us and you've never hurt us. Wang Qing stared at her in a daze. He found it hard to believe that Mei Gongzi would have such an attitude toward him. From his memories, she had always been rather cold and distant. Of the entire Peacock Demon clan, you are the only one who was kind to me from childhood until now. Whenever they bullied me when I was younger, you were the one to protect me and punish them. It made me feel warm inside. I thought the reason you and Mom didn't get along was because of some argument you had in the past, but you both treated me with kindness and I remember every bit of your kindness. It's not something that can change because of blood. Wang Qing's voice trembled as well. He raised his hand as if wanting to stroke her head, but when he saw the fierce gaze from Tang San, he lowered his hand. Good child, you're a good child. I don't even deserve to be called your father. You're such a kind soul. I actually noticed that when you were young. You always secretly helped the weak humans. I remember when the other children in the clan bullied you and insulted you for your human identity. But you didn't even waver. So what if I'm human? I'm proud of it, you said. Mei Gongzi's eyes were already red. Tang San gently pulled her into his arms and said to Wang Qing, your new body's name is Shao He. If you feel like you should sever ties with your previous identity, I suggest you live under this name from now on. As for your resurrection aside from us, I think the only person you should tell is your wife. This is too shocking and could easily draw attention from the ancestral court. Wang Qing, now Shao He, nodded slightly and said, that's for the best. But I'm curious about what's happened during this time. Although my cultivation is gone, my divine consciousness still gives me some sense of things. Have you passed your tribulation? Has little Mei passed her evaluation? How long have I been dead, for that matter? What has happened since? Tang San said, let me tell you what happened after your death. Little Mei took over as the leader of the Peacock Demon clan. Tang San began by recounting how Mei Gongzi had taken over as the clan leader and what she had achieved. He also talked about her evaluation and the strategies he had prepared for it, including things like his interaction with the Tenebrous Demon Emperor. In fact, he revealed almost everything except for his own abilities. As for his own tribulation, he told Shao He the same story he had told the White Tiger Demon Emperor, explaining that he had gained a powerful inheritance. Shao He listened intently, and when he heard the more thrilling parts, he couldn't help but be moved. He was especially astonished by Mei Gongzi passing the combat power trial through her own power, and even defeating an immortal flame phoenix Great Demon King. Naturally, he was also impressed by the fact that Tang San was able to enlist the support of 6 emperors for her. The way he looked at Tang San gradually changed. He himself was skilled at strategy, but what Tang San had done for Mei Gongzi went beyond anything he could have anticipated. Especially when Tang San had drawn an unprecedented tribulation to strike the ancestral court, forcing an entire 15 emperors to protect him through his tribulation and heavily damaging the celestial fox demon emperor's power and legacy in the process. And yet, he had survived and successfully passed his tribulation. It all seemed utterly unbelievable. Yet the proof was right in front of him. The young man before him was not only more skilled in strategy than himself, but also far bolder. Even in the face of so many emperors, he had handled everything with ease, and even toyed with them. Less than a year had passed since his death, yet Mei Gongzi had not only completed her tribulation but had also become a great demon king. Such cultivation speed was unheard of. Not just in the Peacock Demon clan, but even among the entire demon population. Even the White Tiger Demon Emperor had joined their side, so the Peacock Demon clan was now in a better position than ever before. At the very least, the White Tiger Demon Emperor and the Crystal Phoenix Demon Emperor would undoubtedly support them. With the backing of these two emperors and Tang San's brilliance, Kali City was as solid as a fortress. What Mei Gongzi needed now was to keep advancing and become the next Peacock Demon Emperor. When that happened, their lineage would once more have a word to say within the ancestral court. After listening to the detailed story, Shao He exhaled deeply, looked at Tang San, and couldn't help but give him a thumbs up. Whether it's talent or smarts, I'm no match for you. I originally thought that you revived me because you wanted me to help with planning, but now it seems you can manage just fine without me. Tang San shook his head and said, even the most capable person has limits. If I had truly considered everything thoroughly, so many of our people wouldn't have died at the settlement. Since I'm not a demon myself, I misjudged how deeply the demons loathe humans. That led to this tragedy. I thought that by helping Little Mei pass her evaluation and causing a ruckus in the ancestral court to weaken the Celestial Fox clan, things in Kali City would stabilize. We had already controlled the settlement's expansion so that it wouldn't draw too much attention, and I believed that was good enough. But I was wrong in my judgment. If you had been here, we could have worked together and avoided such issues. Shao He nodded slightly and said, humans are weak, but the upper echelons of demons and nymphs have always recognized their intelligence. Otherwise, why would all the great nobles have human vassals? Humans have existed for a very long time. Although they lack bloodline abilities and are often in danger, living short lives as slaves, their numbers have continued to grow. You might not know that, in terms of sheer numbers, humans are the most populous race on the entire demon continent. A species with enough intelligence and strong reproductive abilities, how could the ancestral court not take them seriously? Do you know where the demonic god transformation came from? I'm sure you heard that humans created it in order to survive, but that's not the entire truth. It's actually the result of an experiment by the ancestral court, a way to solve the reproductive challenges many high-tier clans face by interbreeding with humans. And the experiment was mostly successful. While humans have no innate bloodline abilities and all offspring between a human and another race is physically human, all offspring actually inherit the bloodline of the other race, and a not insignificant part of them can use the demonic god transformation. Strangely enough, these humans with demonic god transformation heritage almost always identify as human, not as part of the demon or nymph race of their other parent. That's one of the reasons why, after a long period of experimentation, the ancestral court abandoned this approach. Yet humans, through this experiment, began to produce demonic god transformation users, even passing it down through the second and third generations. Though they are still limited by bloodline and unable to become exceptionally powerful, it is without a doubt that their overall power and survival abilities have become far greater than before. The ancestral court once issued a ban on intimate relationships with humans, but in the end it led nowhere. The ancestral court has never found out why humans were so attractive, but the fact of the matter is that they are. And it's not just the women, even human males attract demon and nymph females, and they are fully willing to bear these men's children. This has increased the number of humans with demonic god transformation abilities, and eventually led to the creation of organizations like the Redemption Society. All of this points to evolution. Humans are evolving. Whether it's intelligence or ability, they are progressing. On the surface, they have no special talents, but nobody in the higher echelon believes that to be the case. They can even assimilate the powers of other races, after all. This is why the ancestral court has grown increasingly concerned about humans. With Little Mei possessing human blood, it would have been difficult for her to succeed in her evaluation from the get-go. And you made a grave mistake. You established a human settlement too early. The Celestial Fox Demon Emperor likely judged that humans would become uncontrollable if they underwent another large-scale evolution. That's why he tried to stop her from succeeding. Of course, in the end, he had no choice but to acknowledge her, if things went as you told me. But he could not allow humans to grow stronger under her wing. That is why he destroyed the human settlement, and that is why he told the White Tiger Demon Emperor to push Little Mei to abandon her human blood and become a full demon. As Tang San listened to Shao He's analysis, A lot of his previous question marks cleared up. It turned out that the seemingly weak humans in this plane had long since raised alarms in the ancestral court. And in truth, the evolution of humanity was indeed formidable. In all fairness, he was no stranger to this situation. On the Douluo continent as well, the earliest humans had also been weak, and the strongest beings were none other than soul beasts, very much like the demons and nymphs here. Soul beasts were incredibly powerful and constrained humanity's living space. But over time, humans developed their own cultivation methods and even figured out how to hunt soul beasts and absorb their abilities in the form of soul rings to strengthen themselves. Eventually, they became the rulers of that plane. Later, even soul beasts had to heed the decisions of humans, surviving under human guidance on other planets. On the Phelan planet, the evolution of humans had clearly not yet reached the level where they could contend with the demon and nymph races. However, Tang San's arrival changed the rules of the game altogether. His actions were starting to affect large-scale changes. Then there was one other thing that he was aware of as a former God King. It was not something he knew as a hard fact, and neither did he know the reason behind it, but from his observations in the grand scheme of things, the laws of the universe were actually most favorable toward humanity. He had always been in contact with dragons one way or another in his previous life. Dragons were an incredibly powerful race across any plane. And he knew of one plane where the dragons had been so strong they had established their own mighty divine realm. Yet eventually, they had been destroyed under the guidance of the universe's laws. By contrast, when the Douluo God realm was targeted by the universe's laws, it was merely swept away by the chaotic currents of time and space. Considering this and a number of other similar events, it seemed that the laws of the universe were indeed more lenient toward humans than toward other species. Listening to Shao He now, a realization crystallized in his mind. Something he had casually told the White Tiger Demon Emperor as a little white lie. But what if humans were so favored, could it be that somewhere deep within the vastness of the universe, the true will or master of the universe was humanity's creator? Or maybe humanity's ancestor? Seriously now, I need to get back to reality. Even as a God King, I was far from getting to the root of that problem. I have to save that one for later. However, there was one thing Tang San was certain of. As long as humans were given enough room to grow, no matter how powerful the beings they faced, they would eventually emerge victorious. Shao He looked at Tang San, who seemed lost in thought, and said, "That's why until humans truly grow, they need to remain humble. Very humble. Moreover, you should know that the more important resources, including fortune and the likes, are severely limited." The Peacock Demon Emperor, the great ancestor of the Peacock Demon clan, once said that she saw a vague image of the planet's future among the secrets of heaven that she glimpsed. She was certain that the planet's finite capacity would not allow for excessive development. Therefore, the number of top-tier powerhouses must be kept in check. Otherwise, it would anger the plane and lead to backlash. The number is actually related to the height and number of the celestial pillars in the Ancestral Court's Council Hall. The number of emperors must be limited, and when an emperor dies and transfers their power to a celestial pillar, some of this power is returned to the plane, allowing for a new emperor to be born. So as long as there are this many emperors in the Ancestral Court, there's no chance for a human emperor to emerge, and thus no possibility of standing against them. Now that the Crystal Demon Emperor has fallen, you have an opportunity. You must seize it. Only when you become an emperor will you have the chance to protect humanity. Then, slowly, you can increase the number of human emperors over time. However, if we can think of this, the Ancestral Court can certainly think of it too. So, when you attempt to become emperors, it will be extremely dangerous. The emperor evaluation process is not easy to pass. According to our ancestors' records, to become an emperor, one must receive the acknowledgement of heaven and earth. This acknowledgement must take place in the Ancestral Court. Right now, it's the only known place where this is possible. You need the recognition of all the emperors to take that step. Unless Little May fully transforms into a demon, she won't be able to pass. As for you, it's simply impossible. You need to prepare for this mentally. Tang San nodded. He had already anticipated this. The White Tiger Demon Emperor had made it clear before. However, Tang San had enough confidence in himself. When the time came, no one would be able to stop him from becoming an emperor. Shao He asked, "So you're staying here until the 100-day period is over, right?" How do you plan to arrange things for me? You're now in a human body. When we return to Kali City, you can reunite with your wife. Due to your past experience, the peacock transformation is still the best match for you. We'll ask the queen consort to sacrifice some of her bloodline power, and I'll help guide it into you so you can cultivate the peacock transformation. I'll help you lay a foundation and teach you a cultivation method during this time. I've already dealt with the most painful parts while your body was still, well, a body. This cultivation method will allow your body to endure far beyond ordinary limits, and your future cultivation progress should be incredibly fast. The Peacock Demon Clan certainly isn't lacking in resources. I'm confident you won't take long to recover most of your cultivation.